Good evening, everybody. My name is CRGGO, also known as George Morgan. We are back live here on the ORL channel here for a grandiose race, a phenomenal race, an historical track. We are here at Suzuka, part of Japan, of course, an amazing track, lots of winding corners, long straights, and certainly very punishing if you get it wrong. I am joined, of course, by my co-commentator, as always, Jack Canan. Jack, we're in for a clinic here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely great to be back once again. Now, I'm sure plenty of us, all these drivers, we're just going to be calming down at what we just saw in SAC here. So, myself and George are very tired after that. So, I'm sure, as always, we're going to get a mental race here today. Just looking through the grid, plenty of returning faces back once again. I've just seen the Renault boys are back. Nicholas Longue, Donoso is back. We have Tommy Paradzik is back. We have Bianca Lila, Burman, so many names returning back. Great to see them back as always. And I've just seen James Baldwin is also back. So fantastic racing prospect, George.
Absolutely. A lot of the esports juggernauts here on the circuit for today's ORL Japanese Grand Prix. It's going to be a thriller, certainly here at Suzuka. Looking forward to it indeed. Jock and DRS, hello. Hope you're doing well. Yo, indeed, here tonight. Just to say, folks, if you want to get involved and chat in the live chat, please get involved. Please leave your comments as well, your predictions as well, who you think is going to be successful here today. Taj Zalettel, how are you doing, good sir? Welcome to the stream. Indeed, it's going to be a corker, this track of Japan. Obviously, first race was held back in 1963. Since then, we've seen so many distinct races. Angel Anjas, yo, yourself, sir. Welcome here to the broadcast. Yano for the dub, says Saddam Abdurrahman. Welcome to the stream, my good friend. Taj Latal, I'm doing fine. Thank you, yourself. I am doing absolutely spiffingly, my good man. I've just come off the back of commentating the Sakir GP. We're now about to see an esports side classic. Jack, I've got to say, I know we've just done a real race, but esports throws up a different dynamic, doesn't it?
Yeah, it certainly does, because what we've just seen in F1 is usually what ORL is like every single week. It's like F1 esports every single week. So we're kind of used to that kind of madness as per usual. But Suzuka is perfect for these cars because I think overtaking is going to be a little bit tricky compared to other circuits. But I mean, it's always nice to see who's going to make, or who's going to be the first to at least try a move at 130 or around the outside. I wonder who's going to be the brave one today.
Well, that is the question. The spoon curve, of course, as well, being a very treacherous corner. Certainly, if you get it wrong, you can send yourself into oblivion. Clipping that curb, even the slightest amount could send your car spinning off the track. You've got plenty of gravel traps around there to send your car into. And like you said as well, Jack, the 130R, such a high-speed bend, a little bit of a niggly corner. You send your car around there, you can easily go wide. You need to be very, very aware of what you're applying on the throttle. It can certainly make a difference, certainly as you head down towards the chicane as well. That chicane, of course, being the actual, before the last curve, you've got it just after the 130R. You've got to try and attack it almost straight on into the curve and literally roll your wheels over, just brush that curve heading through. But obviously it provides you with that really good exit speed if you can get it absolutely right. Around that last curve, of course, they've taken the bump out of the game this time. So, of course, that will mean that we should hopefully not see many cars spinning out of that chicane. Suzuka always excites me, Jack. It was once a last or a grand finale of a racing season. Of course, I remember a very key point, certainly the Williams team winning there back in the 90s with Damon Hill and Jacques Villeneuve, of course, as well. Hello, George. Hello, everyone. A good race, everyone. Indeed, Matteo, thank you for joining us here in the live chat. Everyone, like I said before, please leave your comments in the live chat. We will endeavour to go through them. Of course, we want to hear your predictions here for tonight's ORL Japanese Grand Prix. And here at ORL, we never, ever miss out any exciting pieces of action. Jack, we've been lucky to be treated to many an exciting moment. Jana Watmir providing a very good majority of them as well. He is the driver's champion. But today, Sauber are on a different quest. They could win the constructors here today.
Yeah, they've got a decent gap to their next competitor. So I think as long as they get both cars firmly up in the higher end of the points, they should walk away with that constructors title, which is really hard fought around here as well. But yeah, just come back to your point, a Suzuka absolute classic. We've had so many title deciders come down to here. I think the most infamous one is, of course, Senna Prost when they collided in the Casio triangle, which is the chicane before the last corner. infamous, of course, and Damon Hill winning here in 1995, winning the title. So that it is really it's a special circuit to so many people, and we always love to come here, especially in esports as well. But I'm looking through this grid. I'm so looking forward to this one. We basically have F1 esports on a Sunday evening. What more could you want?
Oh, absolutely. And hopefully, we've already had one case of a lump in our throat after seeing George Russell pretty much be handed a defeat there in Sakhir. It was totally out of his control, and there certainly was a lump in many people's throats watching the pictures of him lying down on the grass in commiseration, certainly. And I've got to say, I feel nothing but nothing but sorrow for George Russell after that splendid performance. He was absolutely phenomenal from the get-go, and heartbreak that his Mercedes debut couldn't end in victory. But here today, are we going to be seeing another twist in the tide? Of course, Jarno Watmir, synonymous with P1 victories here this season. As you can see, he has won in previous races. Of course, he's won the championship. He's currently on 350 points alone. The closest contender, of course, being Danny Moreno, who is on 154. The machine, the Spaniard, has been very, very good this season, has won his fair share of races, but obviously, like anything in esports or in ORL, anything can happen, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though Jarno has been so dominant, we've had so many different winners as well. I mean, both Renault boys. We've had Nicolas Longway winning in Vietnam. We had Donoso winning in France in the last corner because Tomek Peradze got the puncture, and Tomek is back with us today as well. Good to have him back as well. We've of course Danny Moreno has won race as well. Technically, Matthias Colligan has won on track as well, but he's lost on penalties. We've had De Capua has won races. We've had so many others. It's fantastic that it's been so competitive at the same time. But Jarno has been the consistent driver, and that's the key to a championship like this. You've got to be up there all the time, and that is why he is he's up there in F1 esports. He's leading the championship heading into the final round, and it's why he's been so dominant in the point standings as well. And not everything's gone his way all the time, but he's always been there, and that's what counts.
Yes, and I've got to say, leading on from that comment about Jarno Watmir leading the esports championship, he has been extremely consistent, a phenomenal servant to Sauber. And remember, we had that conversation on the ORL podcast. Shane Ryan, a very good, very funny comment indeed. Drinking game, take a shot every time you hear the phrase "Flying Dutchman." In that case, you're going to have to take a shot because I just said it, Shane. But phenomenal indeed. Let's see if you're still standing at the end of this race. So it's going to be interesting. But no, going back to when Limitless stopped by and had an interview with us for the ORL Warm-Up podcast, he heaped on the praise for Jarno Watmir for his qualities. Shane Ryan, I'm Irish, I'll dominate. Fair enough. We've also got another Irishman in the mix as well. Jack, shots. Are you interested in that sort of thing?
Is it free? If it's free, I'm in. Always in.
Good man. Yeah, I've got to say, JD heaped on the praise for Jarno Watmir. Absolutely tremendous driver. He's been absolutely brilliant this season and has done his utmost to perform at his best at ORL as well as the F1 esports, of course. And that is why Sauber are in contention as well for the Constructors' title. Of course, the Red Bull team are currently up there for the grand prize for the Constructors. So very well done to them. They've been consistent all season, of course, made up of that powerhouse unit of Marcel Kiefer and Freddie Rasmussen, both of whom very, very quick on track. And we have seen Rasmussen here as well. Morgan CN69, Alessio is faster than Jarno. So some Alessio fans are in the live chat. Zadam Abu Rahman, does ORL have an Xbox League? I'm afraid not, Zadam. We are only an ORL PC League at the moment here at this grandiose league. Of course, we've got two tiers here, and of course, we have Thursday Thunder on Thursdays, where we assess new talent and bring in the new blood of exciting drivers. I got to say, we're very, we're treated to many quality drivers out on track. We had the advantage as well of speaking to Alvaro Caraton, of course, who in fact was contesting with the top end at the Austrian Grand Prix in the F1 Esports Pro Series. And he was very unfortunate as well, Jack, in that he actually qualified on pole, finished up in P4. It just did not go to plan for him there.
No, absolutely not. And I think that was one of the greatest pole positions of the year was Caraton, because it was the only lap that got into the 101s are in Austria, I'm pretty sure, at this as well. Like, it was a spectacular lap, but the luck just hasn't really been with Alvaro this season. It'd be nice to actually have him back in ORL because he's always been competitive there. But funnily enough, his teammate Michael Romanidis is racing with us tonight as well. So watch out for that young Greek driver because he's pretty handy behind the wheel.
Yes, we've seen Michael Romanidis here before, and I remember commentating on him once at the Belgian Grand Prix here in ORL. He was very, very successful as well. Just looking further down, Matteo, George, what do you think of the Russell match? I'm guessing what you think. I'm guessing what you're trying to say is what you think of Russell's performance. I was very impressed with George Russell, and I'm really hoping that he will get that Mercedes seat as well. Mickey Di Capua, hello everyone. Hi George, hi Matteo. Go Alessio Di Capua. A lot of support raining in for the Italian Alessio Di Capua, and hopefully you can put that Ferrari up at the top end, of course, joined by his long-term teammate here in ORL, Mr. Anchor, of course. And Alessio has been impressive as well, Jack. He seems to have sorted out his racecraft. He's provided us with some real thrilling action, though he did struggle slightly in Russia in the rain.
Yeah, he has been impressive. I've been impressed with him with how he's tidied up his racing. You know, at the start it was borderline out there. Like there was lots of corner cut penalties. There was stewards inquiries, all that kind of thing. But then 2 races later, he's cleaned up the corner cutting and he's really racing hard but fair. So he's come a long way in a short space of time as Alessio. So I'd like to see what he could do in a full-time campaign in ORL because I think if he's able to keep up consistency, I think he actually genuinely could bring the fight to Jarno.
Yeah, we've seen it many occasions, and Jarno's actually said it himself. Alessio, on many occasions, being the closest contender to Jarno in terms of lap pace. Of course, Jarno is a different breed at the moment. He's been winning non-stop. Who can forget his dominance at the start of the season where he went undefeated for that mighty string of wins at the start of the ORL season. It was absolutely phenomenal. Then, of course, Danny Moreno came across and put a few punches on the board as well, winning the famed Monaco Grand Prix at the least anyway, which was absolutely phenomenal. And I got to say, the Spaniard did deserve it. He worked extremely hard during that run. Jarno did not have it all his own way. A little bit of controversy, of course, once again at Monaco, Jack. But since then, things have looked up for the Dutchman. He has done exceptionally well, and once again, after his superior win in Russia last time out in some very tricky, wet conditions, you've got to think that he might be a surefire favourite for Japan, even though despite, we did hear a rumour he might be going for a last to first here today.
I mean, it would be nice to see how he gets on, going from last to first, and definitely give some entertainment, but I mean, yeah, he's usually always the favorite going into anywhere because he always seems to find just that tiny bit extra during the races. But to be fair to Alessio, he's taken at least before Russia, he'd taken 3 pole positions in a row. So Alessio's got the lap pace, but Jarno just able to bring that little bit extra in the race. He's able to bring the correct strategy, the alternate strategy that he likes to do. And is usually the faster one anyway if you're on the alternate strategy around any particular track. But yeah, so there is going to be a good fight on. I mean, we've also had other pole sitters. I mean, James Baldwin, he's quick on his day. He had pole position in China as well. Nicholas Longway, we know how fast he is. He won in Vietnam, beat Jarno on track. So there's plenty of others that can certainly fight. Now I've just been checking. I think there's been a last minute switch for Mercedes. I think Matthias Collegon has left. I think Sven Nöller has now been drafted in to replace last minute. So Collegon, so there was a Mercedes swap in real F1. There's just been one. Sven Nöller now coming into the car.
Yes, Sven Nöller, of course, a very formidable contender. Historically, very, very good, in fact. He does challenge for the odd podium here and there, has been driving the Williams, funny enough. So just like George Russell, he's been promoted from the Williams car up into the Silver Arrows. Great for Sven Nöller, alongside Barry Burremand as well. So Barry back with us here for the Japanese Grand Prix, which is very exciting. We're just a comment here from Louis Welch. Only pad driver racing again. Marcus Arndt, Lewis, you're trash. Very, very charming words there from Marcus Arndt, indeed. So we'll look forward to seeing how Lewis gets on with his pad controller against this mighty string of wheel contenders indeed. Certainly a very famed dynamic. We're going to be seeing them charge up through the snake section and very soon round the Degners, heading round towards the hairpin bend. A message from Mickey D. Capua. George, do you think Alessio can race in the Pro Series next year? I think he certainly has the talent, Mickey. I would not be surprised if he can contend in amongst this grid order. He can certainly contend amongst the best of them. I do understand you are joking there, Marcus. Not a problem, buddy. Zadam Abdur Rahman, when do we start? Very, very soon. We're just awaiting this driver change to occur. Marcus Arndt Barry is the GOAT, though. And you could well be right, of course. Yet to compete in the Pro Series, Barry Burman. But he himself is signed to Mercedes. And I'm hoping that we will get to see him in the last round. Barry has been very unlucky. And we have confirmation, Jack. Hashtag last to first challenge. Jarno Watmir is going for it here at Japan.
Ah, yes. That's exactly what we want to see. That's it. Thanks, Jarno. But yeah, so we're just having some, I think, small connection issues with the lobby. Certain drivers are not able to connect into the lobby for some reason. So I think we should be getting underway in just a few moments' time. Seems like everyone's readying up now. So we'll wait and see, but we should be getting underway very shortly. But last to first challenge for Jarno. That's going to be entertaining. And we'll see if anybody else can get their name on the top step, because there's certainly some really quick guys in there that can really do it, because we know how good Barry Burman is. Came back in Singapore after a long dry spell and basically smashed everyone.
Oh, he did. And he's so quick as well. I remember at the start of the season, we saw him and Jarno fighting at Brazil. Of course, that was the first of the many shared videos by the Cyber Esports team. Just seen a comment here from Alex O'Grady. Who do you think will win this race? I've got to say, Alex, we never know, to be honest, at the start of these events. Certainly the esports racing is just as close, if not more, than the real thing. And certainly if you've seen the F1 Esports Pro Series, the top 10, or should I say the top 20 list of drivers tend to be separated by 0.2 of a second. It is literally that close, isn't it, Jack? Phenomenal.
Yeah, of course. So there's been, I've just noticed there's been another switch. So Colligon's gone back into the Mercedes, and Sven Nuller has now moved to Ferrari. So this is the weirdest transfer thing I've ever seen in my life. But Sven Nuller now in Ferrari after about 5 minutes in the Mercedes car.
Well, we'll certainly see how he gets on now in this situation. Of course, Jarno Watmir going for the Sergio Perez challenge. Of course, we saw Sergio fight from the back of the grid after that little incident going around turn 1. And we got another message here, I believe, from Zadam Abdur-Rahman. Is Veloce surprise racing? That, of course, Josh Idowu. Can we get confirmation on that, Jack? Is Josh Idowu in the car today?
He's not. No, he's not.
There we go. That answers that question. What do you predict pole to be, Gio? I'm going to say a 24/7. Well, we're racing 24/7 here at ORL, mate. I gotta say, I will say that. Jack, what are your thoughts on the track of Japan? I mean, generally we see some very quick times. Generally, it tends to be the cars that can handle the curves in the snake section better. Where would you predict the drivers to be on this circuit?
Good question. Yeah, I'd probably say high 24s as well. But I mean, whenever I predict something, they usually smash it and go like low 24 or mid to low 24. So we'll see in due course. Thankfully, a dry session awaits us. But yeah, the setup you need, it's a mix between low. You need low downforce, of course, for the long straight at the back, but you need the support. You need the support to be able to change direction in those S sections at the very start. So there's a fine margin that you've got to find when you're going around this circuit. That's what makes it so great. And it's extremely fast, it's extremely technical, and everyone loves it. But qualifying is now finally underway. First car out is Sven Zerner out in the Red Bull.
Yes, Sven Zerner making his way around in the Red Bull car. Of course, Red Bull dealt a heavy blow today in that Sakhir Grand Prix. Of course, Max Verstappen DNFing at the start after him and Charles Leclerc sending it off track and, of course, whittling Sergio Perez down to the back of the grid. Frederick Hagen, Paul Russell, Mercedes through the Russell win today. And I've got to say, I can't help but agree with you, Frederick. It certainly did cost George Russell massively out there indeed. And a real shame, nonetheless, as Sven Zerner now makes his way around the second Degner. That stunning purple helmet making a reappearance here today as they make their way up towards the hairpin bend. And very soon he'll be tackling a 200R. A stunning circuit this is, Jack. Certainly an oriental circuit. And Japan really know how to throw out a pretty hefty race.
Yeah, they know how to make a good racetrack around here, and Japanese, of course, extremely passionate fans of Formula One. I remember watching the 2012 Japanese Grand Prix when Kamui Kobayashi got his maiden podium in Formula One in Japan, and that was really special to see that. And of course, they could potentially have a new Japanese F1 driver waiting in the wings in the form of Yuki Tsunoda. Let's see if he's going to be able to get that AlphaTauri seat. It would be nice to see a Japanese driver back in Formula One. It's been a long time since we've had one. Actually, I believe the last one was Kamui Kobayashi. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was Kamui who was the last Japanese F1 driver. It would be nice to see another one back. But George, Sven Zerner going to be the first one to set a lap around here. We'll get an idea of how fast this circuit is now.
Yes, we're going to be following Sven Zerner around his hot lap here, heading up through the snake section. Round the next right, you want to brush the curbs if you can. You can get yourself some improved delta time, as you just see James Baldwin just tucking himself away there, out of trouble, as we now see Sven Zerner coming round Dunlop curve now. Takes a lot of the curb on the outset, heading down towards the first of the Degners. Into the first one, full power, heading into the next right-hander, the second Degner, under the Fanatec banner again, indeed, as he makes his way up towards the hairpin, round this little right-handed kink. And down to second, quick shift, maybe down to first. No, he opts to stay. And a little bit of a wiggle there out to the hairpin bend. He will not like that. Round 200R now. And heading up towards the hairpin bend, or indeed the spoon curve. Still technically a hairpin, albeit a dragged out one. And very easy to invalidate if you're not careful. Spoon curve, very treacherous. On the outset, down the back stretch now. And this is the long way down towards the 130R. Now, this can catch you out. If you're on the power too much, you need to really be careful on the outset. Indeed, he sticks to the inside line, comes down towards, indeed, the Casio Triangle chicane on the outset. Very neat and tidy. Here comes Sven Zerner. First lap time dealt here in qualifying with 14 and a half minutes left to go. 125.349. Marcus Arndt, he's 4/10 faster than what you said.
Absolutely. So 25.3, a 25.3 for Michael Romanidis. He puts a 25.3 banker in as well. So the banker laps coming in at the very start of qualifying, getting their eye in. Daniele Haddad 25.3. This is unbelievable already. The banker laps are almost identical to the 1,000. The Capua 25.1 banker. And across the line, next will be Biancalila 25.6 banker. He needs some time to find right there. Anybody else who is coming up near the start, Opmeer has just started his banker lap now as well. But that's just ORL in a nutshell, is how close the drivers are to three drivers in the same 1/10 of a second on their first laps.
Yeah, absolutely. Alessio Di Capua already showing the pace at the moment of 125.182. A little apology out to Marcus Arndt. I put a second onto your delta time there, indeed. Apologies on that. 24/7, you are quite right, indeed. But already the drivers showing early on that they can get close to that 24/7. Currently at 125.182, listed by Alessio Di Capua in the Ferrari as they round the next right-hander. And the prancing horse looking to do the business here. And we're now seeing Michael Romanidis here as well, back in ORL for the first time in a long, long time. And is listed at 125.337. He as well was confirmed as Williams eSports driver for the Pro Series. So a great opportunity here for certainly Michael Romanidis to make a name for himself here, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. We've just had JD Tyrrell Limitless. He's just confirmed we have a wet race in store for us, George. Another one.
Indeed.
So this is going to make it interesting. There's James Baldwin 25.3. This is unreal.
Great lap indeed. Great lap.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4 within the same 10th. Opmeer 25.3. I don't believe this. I'm going home.
Yeah.
25.3.
Unbelievable. The 25.3s are being lit up across. As you can see, James Baldwin, 25.3. 25.3 for Michael Romanidis, Sven Zerner. Daniele Haddad as well on his return to ORL in the pit lane. Tomek Paratic in the Red Bull here today, coming around the Degners. He set a 25.5. Nicholas Matteo, the other Sauber eSports driver in ORL, 25.6. So he's up there for dancing, certainly. Still a long way to go. Further down, I see we've got former eSports Pro Series champion Brendan Lee in the chat as well. Wait, Barry doesn't join us for F1 eSports practice, but has time to practice alone. Oh, controversy in the Mercedes team room. Barry, you're in trouble. Like Toto Wolff is going to be on the phone as we can now see Barry's on an outlap. And we're going to further drop him in it here, Jack, because he's just about to run through the Casio Triangle straight. Let's see if he can nestle himself on top spot here today.
Absolutely. Well, he's been very harshly judged now. He's under the spotlight now. Barry Burman. Let's see how he gets on. He was quick in Singapore on his return through turns number one. Takes that nicely. Short him up to fifth gear. They're through the Senna S's for his first time. 160 mile an hour on the turn in for the Apex. Serious speed carry through here, down to 150, and the onboard doesn't do it justice just how quick this is. But if you're standing next to the track, you'll get an idea. Now, a bit of traffic coming up in the form of Michael Romanidis. He gets well out of the way through Degner number one. This is exactly like the Monza section, Lesmo 1, Lesmo 2. It's Degner 1, Degner 2 through here up to the hairpin. Once again, he's going to get on the brakes. The camber will help him here. Don't run wide here, Barry. Get tight to the apex. Short shift to third. Onto the power nice and early, and nicely done from Borman there. Down through 200R into Spoon Curve will be the next corner on his list. Bit of traffic again up in front of him in the four. That's one of the racing points. Daniele Haddad, it's a little bit out of shape for Barry, but he gets it back underway. He'll get a slipstream off of Daniele here as well. That'll help him down towards 130R. So he might gain a tenth or two down towards 130R into the Casio Triangle, getting very close to the back of the racing point as he heads down towards 130R. Throws it in, keeps it nice and tight to the left-hand side as he lines up for the Casio Triangle. Down the gears, down to third gear and upshift to fourth as he exits down now. Down to the line. It's a good lap for Barry Burma. What is it going to be? Don't be a 25.3. It's going to be across the line. It's a 25.0 from Barry Burman in the slipstream. That is how much it helps you. 2/10 gain easily there, George.
Well, if that doesn't justify missing Mercedes practice sessions, that certainly will go a long way. A 125.026 for Barry Burman. The Black Arrow on top once again. Just look at the hedge lineup at the top end. Barry Burman P1. Alessio Di Capua, who's out on an outlap as well. 125.182 in P2. But Danny Moreno, the machine, the Spaniard, P3 with a 125.240. Just ahead of his teammate Veloce. James Baldwin, of course. Mike Romanidis down in P5. Sven Zerner in P6. Jan Watmere, don't expect too much from him. Remember, that last to first challenge is on, Jack.
In the rain as well. So I don't know if he really wants a challenge here. I think coming to the end of their lap as well, Matthias Colligan, is he going to come to the line and set a lap for us? No, he's going to go to the pit lane. I think he invalidated on that lap. Anybody else? Like a Falcon Nardi in the racing point. Nice to see him back as well in the racing point. He's going to get the slipstream off his fellow Spaniard, Ruben Vallejo here, down towards 130R. He's going to get a little bit close for comfort here, and down towards 130R. Gets a nice run, 195 miles an hour on the turn, and keeps it to the left-hand side nicely, and onto the brakes into 130R. Down to third gear. It'll be a short shift up to fourth for the exit now, and gets it down to the line. Falcon Nardi, let's see where he can put his racing point. Comes across line 125.5, slots inside the top 10. Not a bad effort from him, but it is so close. Sven Zerner, 25.1.
Yes, he must have been practicing, I've got to say, to get into that P2 spot. Mike Romanidis relegating Alessio down to P4. Of course, Alessio out on a hot lap, looking to improve once again. The track warming up here in Japan as Alessio comes down towards the 130R now. The prancing horse looking to once again cause ruptions here in ORL, heading down towards the final chicane. Indeed, here comes Alessio. Can he do damage once again? Not Barry Burman. Off top spot, the Mercedes driver looks on. No, Alessio coming into the pit lane. No can do, he says. Better luck next time.
George, it's happening again. Sven Zerner, 25.1. Michael Romanidis, 25.1. Di Capua, 25.1. Daniele Haddad, 25.1. It's
amazing
again.
Amazing. The time's flourishing in now, and they're getting smaller and smaller and collected together. We said before, 2/10 separating the majority of the grid order. It's getting very, very close in the top 10. I hope you're all enjoying yourselves in the live chat as we now see James Baldwin heading around this next right, heading up towards what will be Spoon Curve, and the McLaren team looking to once again start pulling punches on the top spot, or just swinging it around that bend there, nearly losing control. And I did mention, didn't I, Jack, about the curves going around Spoon Curve can be very treacherous.
Yeah, and you can easily run a little bit too wide and validate. The reason I went ooh was because Nicholas Longuet, 24.9 to the top of the timesheets.
Yes, the Frenchman here and in front and in command here in the Renault. The first to break the 124s, a 124.959. Nicholas Longuet, of course, F1 esports contender and Vietnam race winner here in ORL as well. Let's see how he can handle Japan. He's certainly got a good start under his belt. He is within, I would say, half a tenth or just over half a tenth faster than Barry Burman, who's in P2, because Barry's still yet to field his second lap. In fact, he's just leaving the pit lane now. James Baldwin coming up round the next left. He's through the snake section, potentially another lap listed for James Baldwin. Just look at the amount of drivers out on track now. They're starting to really filter through. Fabrizio Donoso, of course, challenging that man Brendan Lee, who was, of course, the winner of the very first F1 Esports Pro Series. You cannot stop watching back that famous grand final that was taking place at Abu Dhabi between that of Fabrizio and, of course, Brendan Lee. Fabrizio, of course, making his triumphant return to F1 Esports with the Renault team. Let's see if he can do it this time around this Japanese circuit, coming around the next right-hander. And indeed, the Renault coming across the line. Is it going to be? No, not this time. Must have been an invalidation. No improvement, but he did breach the 124s, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. I was on board as well with Jarno Watmere. 25-1. Again. Wow. It's a thousandth of a second slower than Daniele Haddad. That's all that's in it. But for those guys there. But yeah, no, it's great looking at the live chat as well. I can see there's esports teams lurking around. I can see McLaren Shadow keeping an eye on their boys James and Danny Moreno. Brendan Lee's lurking. Let's get you racing in here, Brendan. We want to see what you can do.
Yes.
Around these with these boys here. And Danny Moreno now, he's going to come across the line. He's going to begin another lap. But I think plenty of guys now back on in laps as we come to the final 5 minutes of qualifying. Matthias Colligan, he's the only one who hasn't set a lap time. Here he comes, down to the line, through the Casio triangle. And let's see what he can do. Across over the curbs. Is he going to come into the pit lane? Yes, again. So it's invalidations left, right, and centre for Matthias Colligan. Not ideal as we head to the last 5 minutes of qualifying.
Yes, and squeaky bum time will nearly be upon us. Danny Moreno, oh my word, going for a spin, heading around what looked to be the Dunlop curve. That was absolute murder on this circuit. Alessio Di Capua just streaks by there. He's on a hot lap too. Let's follow Alessio. Can he once again trump the top end? Nicolas Longue still on top, at least for now. The prancing horse of the Ferrari coming around that hairpin section, heading round towards the 200R. And Ferrari need an upturn in their fortunes, albeit Alessio has pulled them out of obscurity in this Constructors' Championship. They're up to P3. Remember, they were at the back of the grid for the majority of the season, but Alessio, bringing the wins, bringing the points, has brought them up to 196, and they are now tucked in behind Mercedes. Mercedes on 290 points in P2. Obviously, a fair distance to Alfa Romeo, who can clinch the Constructors' title here today. It's going to be very interesting indeed. Lots on the table. Daniele Haddad also up there for dancing as Alessio Di Capua comes out of the Casio Triangle chicane. Round the corner again, dives into the pit lane. He just cannot find the time there, Jack. Mistakes across the grid. It's a very tough circuit. You can very easily lose it. I can imagine that maybe that incident involving Danny Moreno might have cost him slightly.
Yeah, I think plenty of guys just coming in to bolt on the new set of tyres. A man who's currently out on a push lap. At the moment, the two men, Sven Zerner and Michael Romanidis, are on push laps. Sven Zerner, we said he could be practicing. He certainly looks like a through spoon. He comes, throws it through. It's a tiny touch wide, but he manages to bring it together. It always seems when they throw it in that they're going to run way too wide, but no, they manage to bring it back. But Sven Zerner is flying in this Red Bull down towards 130R. And let's see if he can put this Red Bull on pole position. Can he displace Nicolas Longue? It's only a couple of hundredths. Onto the brakes for the Casio Triangle. Down the gears. Keeping it in third. Little lock up on the right. That won't affect him at all. It's up to fourth gear. Down to the line. It's going to be an in lap. And we're now going to have the last runs of qualifying in just a few moments' time. But basically, everybody's in the pit lane now and getting ready to see who can take pole position for this wet race.
Yeah, it's going to be a last gasp into the end of qualifying. 2.5, or at least 2 minutes 50 remaining as Michael Romanidis comes across the line. Can he improve? P1 for Michael Romanidis, the Williams driver with a 124.915, gracing us with the Mercedes engines. A little small tribute to Williams driver George Russell, turned Mercedes for a day. Williams in P1, at least for the time being, subject to the cars now entering the track.
Yeah, that's a great lap from Michael Romanidis. 24.91, just 400 in front of Nicolas Longue. But now the fun begins. Everybody is now about to emerge out on the track in just a few moments' time. Some may opt not to, because of course it is a wet race that we're going in. But of course, wet race means the track position is even more important when we go into the race. And nobody wants to start P11. Usually, if it was a dry race, you'd want to start kind of P11 for the alternate strategy, but you can't do that if it's a wet race because everybody's on the same tire. So track position means everything when we go to a wet race.
Yeah, and just looking there, Jarno Watmere out on an outlap on fresh softs. Now, I'm starting to wonder whether he's looked at the weather forecast and thought that maybe the last of first challenge might need to take a little bit of a delay in proceedings as Tomek Paradzik now bumbling his way down the stretch. Lucas UK out on a hot lap as well, but Tomek Peradzik, of course, he's been struck by bad luck right through this season, and his win taken away from him in France, of course. Remember that puncture on the final lap? He was heading in for P1 glory. Just did not happen for him, as we now follow Tomek as he comes around this right-hander. A very large prospect here for McLaren as well. He's very much part of that team, as we now see Tomek heading down towards the next swinging right-hander indeed. This, of course, is turn one, very treacherous. Round first corner, the snake section beckons. Round the next left, just brushing the curbs again on the outset, on the right-hand side, brushing again. Tomek Peradzik leaving no stone unturned here in Sector 1 as he comes up towards the next left, this being the Dunlop curve once again. Of course, Danny Moreno went for a spin around this bend. The Degners are next. You can take the first one flat out, and he certainly does just that. Tomek around the second Degner, again brushing with the curb under the Fanatec bridge and up towards that hairpin bend, and very smoothly does it. Down on the brakes, down to second, straight up to third, and up and around towards the 200R. This Red Bull, will it give him wings here today? He's got this right-handed bend beckoning in before Spoon, and of course do not want to be touching that curb once again too much. Very smooth indeed from Tomek on the outset, now down towards the straight, this back stretch leading him down towards that 130R again. Can he stick to the inside line, heading down towards the Casio Triangle chicane? This Red Bull looking prominent, looking to repair the damage set by those of Max Verstappen in Sakhir earlier on tonight, as we're now seeing this Red Bull plough through Casio, heading on the outset now towards what will be the line. And indeed, Tomek, can he do some damage here? Ends up across the line. He goes up to P12. Not much of an improvement, but an improvement nonetheless. And that is where he will end up. Biancalila there as well in P13, Jack. Lots of cars coming to filter in. The hot laps are rolling in.
Yeah, so Colin on to P5, James Baldwin to P3, Barry Burman coming through the Casio Triangle. There's Donoso with a 24.8 across the line. Here comes Barry Burman to try and displace him across the line. It's going to be a 24.8 as well. Marginal, 0.04 of a second between them as they come across the line, but we still have some more to come. Long way to Capua. Otmir still to come as well. This is going to be brilliant. Here comes Otmir.
Yes, Jarno Watmir coming down towards the Casio Triangle chicane. Once again, how smooth can this Dutchman take it? Through the next left now, the final right-handed corner beckons, heading past the paddock. The Flying Dutchman looking to do the damage. P7 is all he musters. Remember, he is not looking, well, he was looking for a last to first challenge. Currently, it's a P7 to first challenge for the time being. I think the last to first is out the window, unless he gives them a lap head start. We're not quite sure. We're now seeing... indeed, sorry folks, the controller just did something very strange indeed, as we now see some cornering come through. Veloce James on a slow lap. Daniele Haddad coming across the line as well. P11 is how he will remain. Falcon Nardi still to cross the line as well. He's just X'd in Spoon Curve heading down the stretch. And the Racing Point team have to pick it up 2 P1s. It's not going to happen for Falcon Nardi. Barry Burman has served Mercedes correctly. He may have missed practice, but he's nestled a pole position. And Fabrizio Donoso, what a lap there, Jack. A 124.899. Superb work from those two.
Excellent, excellent, excellent work. Alessio Di Capo, he invalidated his lap. I was on board as he backed off down the back straight. But yeah, excellent job. But 0.004 between Burman and Donoso. Great job from Michael Romanidis as well, P3. But everyone's so close. Barry Burman and Donoso sharing the front row. And Di Capo will start from P10. I think he's just going to be a row behind Jarno Otmir.
Yes, well, that's your P1 sitter, Barry Burman, for the Mercedes AMG Petronas team. He nestles that pole position very nicely indeed. And in behind him, you got Fabrizio Donoso for Renault in P2, Michael Romanidis in P3, Nicholas Longue P4, James Baldwin P5, Sven Zerner P6, Matthias Collegon P7, Jarno Otmir P8, Ruben Vallejo P9, Alessio Di Capua P10, Daniele Haddad in P11, Manuel Biancalila in P12, P13, Nicholas Matteo, P14 goes to Danny Moreno, P15 to Tomek Peradzik, and VSR Cordy in P16, Sven Noller, 17 for Ferrari, Ben Zabo P18, Falcon Nardi 19, and of course Lucas UK rounding the grid off in P20. We'll be right back, folks, after this ad break. Welcome back, folks. Obviously, well, they're going to be going out on the formation lap shortly. But Jack, let's just talk through that qualifying. That was absolutely phenomenal scenes. And I've got to say, Barry Burman doing his team credits. P1, pole position for the Mercedes team.
Yeah, great job. Intermediate conditions for this race. The times, by the way, 9/10 between the entire field. 20 cars in under a second. Half a second back to P19. So that's how much you can gain. Look at Barry Burman. He's already just sending the car, drifting it, trying to get temperature into the tires. But track position here counts for so much. Intermediate conditions, we don't know. We haven't got the update on the conditions if it's going to dry up. But it is going to be interesting to watch because we have Jarno P8, Capua P10, and basically De Capua is right behind the rear diffuser of Jarno Watmir. But we have a really interesting battle on our hands because we've Barry, he's won before, Donoso's won before, Romanitis, he hasn't won this season yet. And nice to see James Baldwin P5. That's a great effort.
It is indeed. Of course, folks, we'll just bear with us. We're just putting the game sound on for you for the time being. Won't be a sec, of course. I understand, obviously, the game is not filtering through. Do bear with us. Hopefully, this will come through as well now. As we're now watching the cars go around the track. Certainly not an ideal scenario, certainly for Jarno Watmir, currently down in P8. And he's going to be left wanting, that's for sure. The Sauber Esports team looking to get the job done. And as we now see, Barry Burman round Spoon Curve. The rain pouring here in Japan. And what can this mean, certainly, for this strategy battle indeed?
Yeah, absolutely. We can see... Which of the Reynolds is that? Is that Nicholas Longbay? He's not hanging around even to get to the grid first. He's going full speed into the Casio Triangle. He desperately wants to get brake temperature or tire temperature in, but he is trying to get these guys to hurry the hell up and go into the grid. So he's going to be the first to take his stop. Barry Burman comes.
We are indeed, guys. The drivers now making their way into their grid slots indeed. Barry Burman leading the charge, and we're just waiting for the lights to go out. Certainly, we're just having a few issues with the sound coming through the headset here, folks, as the lights are about to go red. Here we go. First light, second light, third light, fourth light, the fifth light! And it's pedal to the metal. Go, 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 go. Barry Burman gets away well. So does Fabrizio Donoso there. Nicholas Longay as well out like a shot. Moves into P1. Does Nicholas Longay. Svensson dead in behind them. Barry Burman an awful start in this wet conditions. In behind James Baldwin. Also up there for dancing. Jarno Watmir is there as well. In behind Manius Colligon. Mancarumanidis in P7. Ruben Vallejo in P9. Alessio Di Capua down in P10 after a little bit of a shoddy start. Ruben Vallejo though, battling with Manius Colligon further down. As you can see, they're making their way through the stake section. What a phenomenal start by Nicholas Longay though, Jack. He is leading the way with Donoso in P3. Yes, Nicholas Longay now coming out towards Spoon Curve now, and the Renault team can be delighted with what's occurred here today. Sven Zerner in P2, Barry Burman in P3 and letting fly at this Red Bull. Certainly the battles between Mercedes and Red Bull have long been in existence over the last few years. We can now see Barry Burman shuffling his way down through towards the 130R and looking to swing it around this left-hander, indeed heading down towards the Casio Triangle chicane. And as they do so, this string of cars taking them down the stretch. And once again, do apologise. The controller keeps disconnected there. Not sure why. Do apologise there, folks at home. As we now see Barry Burman coming down the stretch past the paddock. He is currently a gap there, littering of around about a second, separating him there. Nicholas Longue still in front by a second of Sven Zerner, who's in P1. The Renault team very pleased, I've got to say, with this monumental start. They're making use of this wet race here in Japan. The strategy will be important to these guys as he rounds the next left, round this snake section. It certainly looks to be a very promising start for Nicholas Longue. He certainly does. He's got a lot of work to do, has Alessio Di Capua, as he now makes his way down the stretch. You can see, looking ahead of him, Falconardi going around Spoon Curve and looking to try and nestle in an improved performance as they now head down the stretch leading towards the 130R. And there's a little bit of hustle and bustle here, looking ahead for Maurizio Donoso, trying to get close to the back of Barry Burroman, and indeed he's getting really close indeed, and Jackie can be really impressed with his performance so far. Of course, Donoso was up there earlier on in qualifying. Sven Zerner laying fastest laps, Barry Burroman now doing the same at 138.852 to boot. So phenomenal here from Barry Burroman. Needs to get it done to make that missing practice also worth it. Yes, I've got to say, we're just having problems with the second commentator feed at the moment. I think it's the Discord settings. We'll have to get that amended. Do apologise, folks. Do bear with us just a second. We will have it back running now. Of course, we're just missing Jack there. Do apologise, Jack. I'm not sure what's happened there. It looks like there must have been a voice and video error. Do bear with us, folks. We will be right back with you indeed. As I've got to say, we've been treated some high-octane racing indeed. It's been absolutely splendid to watch. And certainly none of these drivers have been slouches on track, that's for sure, as we now witness them make their way around the first sector once again. And as we're now seeing a few of them actually whittled down. Barry Burroman now in lap 3 of 27 in P3 and doing exceptionally well. He's got Sven Zerner ahead of him there, and he can be pleased with this performance so far. Barry Burroman, recovery after losing out those positions at the start of the race. Longue, though, on a mission. Yeah, I've got to say, he is going to be hoping for that issue. But obviously, anything can happen in motorsport, anything can happen in racing. As we now see Donoso powering down around the 130R, heading down towards the Casio Triangle. Barry Burroman knows that he might be in jeopardy here. Donoso has proven to be a very hot contender in ORL, and certainly a proven podium seeker as well. As they head down towards the Casio Triangle chicane, he goes in deep, takes it better than Barry Burroman, certainly there, as Donoso now powers out, heading out round the last curve, down towards the stretch. Nicholas Longue setting the fastest lap of the race with a 138.852. 1:30.719 as they head down towards the first corner. Barry Burman still in P3, though Donoso catching at a rate of knots in behind James Baldwin, also trying to catch Jarno Watmere around the next right-hander. Of course, both of them representing the Veloce team, but I can tell you there are no team orders in that regard. Certainly, the Alfa Romeo will want to secure at least something here for the constructor stand-ins, and I can imagine that the Sauber Esports team urging them on to try and coop up the top points here today. Do bear with us, folks. We're having problems getting a hold of Jack still. He's actually left the comms bill. I think he's having some issues, I think, his end. So I do apologise. I will take you through the latter stages of this. Obviously, apologies. It happens from time to time. Discord has certainly seemed to have got a bug behind it. So I will do my utmost. The screens will be back live now. Obviously, apologies on that regard. Nicholas Longay has got a penalty now, which is really unfortunate. We have to find out how much that is. I'd imagine 3 seconds to boot at the moment for Nicholas Longay behind Sven Zerner in P2 as well as they head round that famed 130R down towards the Casio Triangle chicane. Once again, Barry Burman in hot pursuit as well with Fabrizio Donoso to boot right behind Barry Burman here now as they round the final curve, heading down the stretch. Donoso in the wet, looking to prove dominance here at this phenomenal circuit of Japan, heading down towards turn 1. Still Longay leads, Sven Zerner in P2, Barry Burman in P3. Of course, Vitality babyface, that being Fabrizio Donoso in P4, trying to challenge. Jarno Watmere is joining the contingent here, round in the first left-hander now, part of the snake section, heading round the next right-hander. James Baldwin only half a second behind as well. He's really on a charge, trying to gain any presence on this Flying Dutchman. So take a drink there, folks, indeed, as we now see them round in the next left. And coming up round towards the next left, again, Michael Romanidis is also parked in behind for the Williams team. Matthias Colligon in P8, Ruben Vallejo in P9, Daniele Haddad as well in P10, but Longay still leading the charge. Sven Zerner, as they head round towards the next left, he's going to look for an opportunity himself, I believe, heading round towards the next right. This, of course, being that of famed 200R as well. And as they head up towards Spoon, you just see them, look at them in hot pursuit of each other, looking for the down. Danny Moreno doing battle with Daniele Haddad, coming up to also around that 200R, and soon the Spoon curve will beckon, hitting that left-hander indeed, brushing the curb on the outset. The Racing Point in front, looking in a little bit of jeopardy here as the McLaren makes its way down the stretch. This is the back stretch, heading round towards 130R, and very soon they'll be tackling that famed Casio Triangle chicane as well. Daniele Haddad and looking to maintain this delta difference in between him and Danny Moreno into the Casio now. And still the Spaniard, Danny Moreno, just holding firm, tucked in behind that of the Racing Point, at least for the time being. No DRS on offer for any of these drivers, so moves are going to have to be made based on certainly their muster as a driver, heading down towards the first corner now, this being lap 7 of 27. Still plenty left to boot as well, folks. Not even at the halfway stage just yet. Plenty of movements to be made. Still Longay in front by 0.8 of a second into 0.9 now. Donoso getting closer to the back of Barry Burman as they round Dunlop, heading up towards what will be that famed Degnard curves as well. Those right-handers, which are so treacherous. If you get them wrong, certainly in wet weather conditions, they can cause problems. Here comes the Renault around the next right-hander, leading up towards the hairpin bend. And indeed, the Renault, the French team, looking very dominant. Longay still on top, 0.8 clear. Sven Zerner doing his utmost to keep with that Renault car. The French team certainly coating themselves in glory at this early stage. 7 laps in, and still a lot of racing left to go. Barry Burman also in the mix. P3 currently for that man, as they round Spoon and heading out wide, just cutting over into the curbs there is Donoso then. A 3-second time penalty applied to James Baldwin. That's not going to help in his quest to overtake Jarno Watmere. The delta difference is actually being sent out now already. Another 0.3 of a second applied onto the delta that he had before, and that's dropping consistently now as Jarno Watmere closes on Fabrizio Donoso, heading into the Casio Triangle chicane. Donoso on the outset now of that famed chicane. Barry Burman there in P3, and heading down the stretch. Longay in front, Sven Zerner in P2, Barry Burman in P3, Donoso in P4, Jana Watmir in P5, as we've already said. Further back, Michael Romanidis coming to join the party as well, chasing James Baldwin. And another penalty being dished out this time for Tomek Perantic, as Sven Zerner has taken one for the lead here. There must have been a mistake heading through the snake section. And Sven Zerner, who is showing dominance here, of course not part of the Pro Series this year, but is showing that he's still got the talent and the raw pace that we've seen increasingly over the last couple of years. And he's brought it here today, of course. He did say in an interview early on in the season that he hasn't been practicing that much. You now see Donoso parking his car all over the back of Barry Burremand, coming up now towards that hairpin curve. Barry doing all he can, again making his way up towards the hairpin. Nicholas Longay is in sight. He's getting close to the rear end of that Renault, but likely is Donoso, currently parked in behind Barry Burremand. It's a Renault sandwich for that Mercedes car in behind. Jana Watmir as well joining the fray as they make their way up towards Spoon Curve. This is an intoxicating battle. DRS train is exactly what we were hoping for here at this enormously popular and phenomenal circuit of Japan. Once, like we said before, a grand finale in the F1 calendar. Once again, it's providing us with some certainly exuberant racing action as they head down towards the next chicane. Indeed, Sven Zerner now 0.3 of a second ahead of Nicholas Longay. Barry Burremand in P3. Fabrizio Donoso in P4, Jana Watmir in P5, James Baldwin in P6, Michael Romanidis in P7, and Matthias Kollag on P8, Ruben Vallejo in P9, Danny Elliott Dan as well in the top 10. A move being made by Alessio Di Capua there on Ben Sabo, heading into the chicane on the outset, now down towards the home straight. A great move by Alessio, moves him up to P16, but we cannot take our eyes off this top end of the field as Longay tries to retake his P1 spot that Sven Zerner has managed to garner here as they weave their way through this next section. And 3 times 9, obviously 27. We're a third into this race indeed. And still a long way left to go, of course. The pit stops yet to come into account, apart from Bianca Lila, who very strangely enough has opted for the medium tyres here in this wet-weathered race. Whether we're expecting it to dry up, I'm not so sure, but Sven Zerner is still on top as they're making their way around the next left. Indeed, the Red Bull car still laying out dominance here today. Round in the next right, Nicholas Longay on top in P2, looking to claim that top spot of Sven Zerner as Barry Burremand tries to close the door as well in P3. 0.6 of a second, equilateral gaps in between that of Longay and Zerner and Burremand as they head down the backstretch now towards the 130R. And very soon towards the Casio Triangle chicane before the last curve. There's Zerner in behind. You can see Jana Watmir now treading all over the back of Donoso down towards the Casio Triangle chicane. Once again, Donoso doing all he can to keep this Dutchman at bay. Like we keep saying before, Jana a master in the wet, and he's going to need to pull out all the stops yet again. Sauber on the brink of Constructors' Championship glory as they head down the stretch once again. Donoso only 3.5 of a second behind Barry Burremand, but also he's got the Dutchman, as I said before, tucked in behind him in P5. James Baldwin in P6 as well in hot pursuit. Despite having a penalty, he is still in amongst the rest of them. Here is Michael Romanidis as well in P7, coming up the snake section, closing on the rear end of James Baldwin as well. Danny Moreno, indeed, the controller's driving me mad. Do apologise, folks. Obviously not ideal as we're seeing Michael Romanidis round the next left. James Baldwin in P6. They're climbing up through Dunlop, heading up towards the Degners. Jana Watmir in P5 as well. 0.4 of a second, the delta time gap as they make their way round the second Degner up towards the hairpin bend. Sven Zerner on top, 0.8 of a second. Barry Burremand in P3, 0.7 behind Nicholas Longay. The race still trundles on. Donoso maybe just a little bit shaky coming through that corner there, maybe opening the door for Jana Watmir. Barry Burremand still in P3. And just looking further down, James Baldwin still withholding that half a second gap. Michael Romanidis there too. Veloce Hayes, of course, Matthias Kollag bringing that Mercedes up to the top end as well. So we've got a string of cars beginning to formulate here. This race is just about to get exciting. And we are hearing that we are expecting dry weather at this race, folks. So obviously Biancalina perhaps looking at the long haul, or looking at the wider journey of this race as we see Matthias Collegon coming down towards the Casio Triangle chicane. Just look at this string of cars here in this race. This is absolutely unbelievable. The top 10 merely separated on each side. The delta time separating them is within pretty much a half a second gap, as we're seeing Donoso down towards turn 1. Still chasing Barry Burman now. Longay in P2. Oh my word there! A mistake by Sven Zerner going around turn 1, allowing Longay through. They're going wheel to wheel through the snake section, eating a bit of turf. Goes Zerner. Cuts through on the inside. Phenomenal racing here from these two. It's hotting up here in Japan. A little bit of pushing and shoving around the next right-hander. Zerner looking to shut the door, but he can't. It's still Longay who's on his inset coming up towards the Deckness. It's all about the Dunlop curve now. Who's going to get the better move in the Deckness? And it's going to be Zerner. He protects that lead. Great racing indeed. And a loss of a front winger played there for Longay. Just got too close for comfort. And he's lost that partial end plate. Unbelievable scenes heading around that right-hander. Svensson hanging in there. And a little bit of a jiggery pokery there as Longay continues to persist. Svensson still in P1, and he will close out that P1. Phenomenal manoeuvres there from the pair of them. Longay a little bit perhaps zealous going through that right-handed Degner. That second one just nudging the back end, costing him that end plate. Not ideal at all. In behind, it's opened the door for Barry Burmand, of course, who's in P3. Of course, the reduced downforce on Longay's car is going to be very hazardous in this wet weather conditions, that's for sure. As they come round towards the 130R, and certainly you do not want to miss too much of an end plate round here, and he does brush the curb, and that's not ideal. Could very well send him into obscurity, that's for sure. Into the Casio Triangle chicane on the outset, round the final curve. Here comes Barry Burman into the pits. Longay goes and very nearly grazing the wall as Barry Burman takes this lead. Unbelievable scenes as they head through into lap 12. Mike Romanidis trying to close on James Baldwin. In the pits goes Longay. Donoso, they're double stacking, I think, at Renault. And again, control to apologise, folks. Unbelievable scenes here in Japan. Not ideal at all, I've got to say, for Nicolas Longay. And he is going to go onto the Inters again. And the double stack has actually hampered that of Donoso, who's actually, I think, serving a penalty at the same time. Jarno Otmir coming out of the pits too on the medium tyres. They've gambled. The rain has stopped here in Japan, I believe, and all they've got is a wet track. So Jarno's going to try and literally scale his car around this circuit. And doing just that. He's in P16, the current ORL World Champion, doing himself justice, at least for the time being. Barry Burman on top spot, though, now making their way round that hairpin bend. On the outset, James Baldwin only 7/10 behind, and surely you'd imagine, given the fact that they're about to come around the spoon curve now, they're going to feel the traction go a bit on these wet tyres. Still the spray coming off that off the concrete circuit. Round the next left now they go. And of course down towards the backstretch now, rounding the 130R. James Baldwin 7/10 of a second behind that of Barry Burmand. Michael Romanidis 4/10 back, looking to close the gap there on James Baldwin. He's certainly not going to have it all his own way as they brush the curbs there on the outset, heading down towards that next chicane. James Baldwin doing all he can just to hang on there. He does well, and on the outset powers through and down the home stretch. Coming into the pit lane does Michael Romanidis. Certainly that's going to be a strategy call there. Penalties being listed across the circuit. Longay's got one, as we said, and of course Lucas UK, White Lilac, Biancalila in P20 as well as picked one up. James Baldwin as well has picked up a penalty too. Looking further down, Matthias Collegon in P3. Barry Burman still leads the way though. You can see James Baldwin in P2. Barry Burman in P1 at this moment in time. The Mercedes team Ps 1 and 3, subject of course to pit stops. None of them have pitted yet, so the way things are drawn out right now, it's going to be certainly a case that Barry Burman's going to have to pull out all the stops, at least in this initial few laps that he's got in P1 before he comes into the pit bay to change those tyres, because I'd imagine seeing as all the cars are coming in to change onto mediums, he's going to have to make the same manoeuvres. Looking further down, Longay powering through on Danny Moreno, and again battles through there out to the chicane as they come around coming around the first few bends of the snake section, and Longay getting it done, and seems to carry a lot more pace than Danny Moreno. I think that's simply down to the compounds. The track's simply not dry enough quite yet, so Longay getting a nice swift manoeuvre done indeed. Looking further up, Danny Elliott-Dad probing on the back of Ruben Vallejo, both of them on Inters, at least for the time being. Looking further down, Longay once again powering through on Michael Romanidis, who is on medium tyres too. So you can see that the medium tyre cars still trying to scale their way around the circuit. The pace is not up to scratch just yet, so those on the inters can increase the delta gaps. So Barry Burman might want to consider pitting within the next lap or so. So we will expect him to box, I'd imagine, very soon. Matthias Collegon as well likely to do the same. In fact, Matthias pits first. So I'd imagine they've had a discussion there without a shadow of a doubt as Ruben Vallejo moves up into P3, of course. And he's a regular podium getter, is Ruben. He's done it several occasions. And the Spaniard, certainly after his recent signing to Brutal Democracy Gaming, doing himself justice, certainly in the Williams seat. That sees itself in the podium positions, at least for the time being. Falconardi getting the move done on Veloce Hayes, albeit he's in the pit lane having changes. The medium tyres being applied to Matthias Collegon, who might have actually unearthed a genius strategy here, given the fact that the weather is starting to dry up now. And perfect timing indeed for Matthias Collegon as he rounds through the snake section. He now needs to try and close the gap on Falconardi. The only way he's going to be able to do that is if the track starts to dry up exponentially here, and you can just see him maybe not happy with the grip that's on those tyres right now, because the wet is still on this track, still very slick indeed. Lucas UK as well scaling his way through. Nicholas Matteo letting fly at Danny Moreno. Just look at them. They're literally, it's like they're on ice right now. And Danny Moreno certainly not applying himself into these corners at maximum pace. Obviously these mediums not effective in wet conditions. Here comes Daniel Haddad now around Spoon Curve. Ruben Vallejo getting closer to the back end of Veloce James Baldwin, and that Williams looking to make a move here, and Longuet has left the session. We've lost Nicolas Longuet. Whether that's an issue there, I'm not sure. He's on the medium tyres, he's in the pits. It's been a disaster here for Renault, and he's stopped on the track. I'm not sure what's happened there. It said he's in the pit, so maybe a desync there on the circuit. Longuet has been disqualified for being parked in a dangerous location. So Nicolas Longuet impromptuly out of this race. Unbelievable scenes here as Donoso powers down towards the next right-hander. This, of course, being the first Degner, and certainly the grip on those hards is going to be certainly very treacherous indeed. Barry Burman still in P1 though, 2.3 seconds the delta time between him and Ruben Vallejo. Sven Noller in P3 as well for Ferrari, in behind Nardi Perez in P4, currently in front of James Baldwin, who's just leaving the pit lane now. Tomek Paratic as well in behind us. Daniel Haddad leaving as well. Matthias Collegon whittling his way through. He will join this cluster of cars very shortly, going round turn 1. Daniel Haddad staying close behind Tomek now. The Red Bull, who of course has been very unlucky all season not to get the podiums that he so richly looked for, or certainly sought for, I have to say, rising up through the initial few bends here of the snake part of the circuit. And very shortly around Dunlop indeed. Barry Burman currently 1.5 seconds in front. Ruben Vallejo P2. Sven Noller in P3. 3.8 seconds the gap between him and Ruben Vallejo. And Veloce James moving up to P4 as well. A little move there. And indeed Veloce James powering through. And indeed the flags were called there. Looked like there was an off there. And James Baldwin once again proving that he's certainly a man not to be pressurised with. There's Tomek now down in P5, looks to keep pushing. He's half a second back. I think Daniel Haddad has actually lost the pace there as they make their way through the 200R. And Veloce Hayes now in P7, Lucas UK in P8. Currently, obviously, due to the pit stops accrued, it might work out quite well for Lucas UK and the Haas team, at least for now. Falconardi in P6 as well. Not off track there for Falconardi, who winds off there. Danny Moreno zooms past, so does Matteo. I'm not quite sure what's caused that, but certainly the Racing Point leaving the circuit and tangling there with the turf. I'm not sure what's going on here. He's actually coming off the track altogether. I'm not quite sure how to explain this, but he's coming back on. I think it's the grip levels now as the track dries up. It's going the other way, folks. Alessio Di Capua trying to put the pressure on. We can see some real changes here as Sven Noller comes out of the pit lane now in behind Daniele Haddad. Tomek Paratic in P4. Currently 2 and a bit tenths off Veloce James Baldwin. Literally under 3 tenths, should I say, just over 2.5 now, as we see Danny Moreno coming through as well. Through the first corner. In behind him, Nicholas Matteo for Alfa Romeo. And certainly Jarno Watmere not having the most graceful of races so far. He's got to try and battle his way up through this grid order, but he's powering through now, seeing as the cars are now entering the pit lane. Jarno doing things Jarno's way. The current ORL World Champion now feeling the effects of the dry track, and it's working for him now. You can see certainly the pace of this car beginning to hot up as they come through the snake section round Dunlop. And he's got Alessio Di Capua dead ahead of him, albeit Alessio with a penalty to his name. Sven Zerner chasing Ben Szabo as well as they round the next right-hander. Certainly the way the grid order's stacked. Veloce Hayes, Matthias Colligon in with a very good chance, as well as Sven Noller, who's got fresh softs on. Whether he can take those to the end is a mystery to me, but we'll soon see. Barry Burremand has also pitted as well, so he's in with a great chance of holding on to this P1 position. And certainly James Baldwin, despite having a penalty, in the mix too, as Ruben Vallejo still yet to pit. He's coming now, in fact. Barry Burremand coming down towards the Casio Triangle chicane. He will very soon take the P1 spot in this race. 10 laps remaining here, folks. It's a case, certainly, that Barry just needs to hang on here and keep this P1 spot in his back locker. Of course, the cars behind him, that being James Baldwin and, of course, Tomek Perantic, both having penalty points, is certainly going to go a long way to spicing up the results at the end of the race. Daniel Haddad into P4 now as well, and chasing indeed is Ruben Vallejo. Comes out of the pit box on fresh soft tyres, chasing Daniel Haddad, and Ruben Vallejo might have pulled off a worldie of a strategy here, because he's come out quick as a flash on fresh soft tyres, which will obviously, I believe, go the distance here. 10 laps remaining here at Japan. It's certainly intriguing. Sven Noller on the same strategy as they ran the Dunlop curve. And Daniel Haddad now under all sorts of pressure, certainly from this Williams. Ruben Vallejo, known to be a very consistent driver, can park it in all the right places. And I'd imagine he'd be looking to make the most of that soft compound, heading up towards the hairpin bend now indeed. It's all a case of judging your braking area at the right time, certainly when it comes to a bend like this, and easing the car around with an acceptable amount of power. Now out on the 200R. And this Williams car definitely looking very modest right now. Coming round towards the next left-hander, Daniel Haddad holding on for all he's worth there. Losing it slightly, just losing the front end maybe. And traction on this circuit, certainly Spoon Curve, as we keep saying, very treacherous. Touch the curbs and he could leave into obscurity. Jarno Watmere still working on closing the gap to Alessio Di Capua. Of course, those two have battled throughout this season. Of course, it's Daniel Haddad now under jeopardy from the travelling Ruben Vallejo. Can he make a move going into the chicane? No, not this time. As they leave on the outside, the Williams car still yet to be able to pounce on this Pink Panther. As they come around the next round, James Baldwin set the fastest time. Now Tomek does indeed, and he's rounding on James Baldwin. Here comes Ruben Vallejo for the P4 spot. Smoothly does it there for the Williams team, and on those soft tyres, working their magic here around this track of Japan here in lap 18 of 27. We're within the final 10 laps, folks, 9 to be exact. And Tomek now trying to move up on James Baldwin himself. This Red Bull certainly trying to apply the pressure. James Baldwin now rounding the Dunlop curve, knowing and truly knowing that Red Bull is tucked in behind and looking to pounce too. Lucas UK is down as well, but he's managed to get a fastest lap despite being outside the top 10. P13 for the Haas car now. Oh, a little bit of movement there from Tomek, nearly losing the car, going under that tunnel into what will be the hairpin section now, and still on the back of James Baldwin. These three are in the podium spots, at least for now. Of course, Ruben Vallejo will be promoted at the end of the race, should this remain the same, given the fact that the penalty situation is what it is. James Baldwin currently in P2. Tomek, of course, we're riding on board with in P3. Both have penalties applied to their times. Daniel Haddad will move up as well. Sven Noller challenging now Daniel Haddad. And bear in mind, Sven Noller, like Ruben Vallejo, on the soft tyres as they come up towards that famed 130R. And as they do so, indeed, it's all about the grip levels around this very, very quick left-hander. The Racing Point still holding on to P5, at least for now. The red car of the Ferrari and Sven Noller over the first curve, over the second. And indeed, as they round the right-handed curve, round the last lap, a little bit of a wiggle of the steering wheel there from Sven Noller. Not ideal at all. Ruben Vallejo, 133.595. As Sven Noller goes for a dynamic move on the outside here. The Ferrari looking to upturn their prospects in this race. Gets it done to Sven Noller, and is now chasing the Williams that, of course, he's been driving all season. And Sven Noller once again proving that he's certainly a cut amongst the rest of them. He's actually qualified for the Challenger Series as Sven Noller, and quite rightly so. With movements like that, he will certainly go far. As long as he keeps up this momentum now, he'll be chasing Ruben Vallejo in that Williams car. Of course, both of them on soft tyres, chasing down now Tomek Perantic. And you'd imagine they'll do just that, given the delta differences, of course, between the softs and the mediums. Certainly the softer tyre will provide them with that extra grip, that extra certainly application of speed that they're looking for through this Japanese circuit. Looking further down, of course, Nicholas Matteo in the other Sauber car. And Jana Watmir down in P14. Lucas Ukase, in fact, managed to split that of Alessio and Veloci. Jana Watmir, who is still trying to coax his car around in P14, at least for the time being. But looking ahead, the current leading Alpha car is, of course, Nicholas Matteo, the youngster who's also signed for BDG alongside Ruben Vallejo. Brutal Democracy Gaming can be very happy with the recruits they brought in. Both of them very, very strong drivers indeed, as Nicholas Matteo now out of the Spoon section, heading down the back stretch, leading down towards the 130R. I know Nicholas Matteo has invested in his wheel rig recently. Recently acquired a Fanatec, as Sven Noller goes quicker with a 132, and quite rightly so on those soft tyres. We're now seeing Paradix now finding his way around this first corner, chasing James Baldwin up through the snake section now. The McLaren in a little bit of jeopardy here, potentially, if Tomek can string a good couple of corners together. They've been pretty much matching the delta time right through their ongoing battle. Barry Burman still coasting around though, yet to receive a penalty, as Jarno Watmir goes quickest on the mediums with a 131.563. Jarno is on a charge, currently 0.6 of a second in behind you, Lucas UK, as I believe they head round turn 1, and Jarno's certainly not done yet. He's challenging for points. He wants to at least get the car into the top 10, I'd imagine. He's got his teammate Nicholas Matteo in the top 10 too, and you can, well, certainly Jarno, he's very capable. We've seen it on his day, can cultivate a win out of nothing, and so surely maybe some points are on the cards if the race goes his way, as we're already seeing Donoso into the pit box as well, yet again not having the ideal race after such a promising qualifying session. Donoso really struggling with this race, certainly given the circumstances. His teammate is already out, of course, Longue, suffering what must have been a disconnection earlier on, leaving him out on track, and of course receiving a disqualification for being in an unsafe position, as Jarno Watmir comes up towards Spoon, still chasing Lucas UK, and of course on those soft compounder tyres is going to give Lucas the advantage, heading around Spoon into the backstretch. Ruben Vallejo now with the fastest time. He has trumped Jarno Watmir is here, and trying to get around towards the first corner. He's in DRS territory of Sven Noller now. The DRS will be active, I'm sure, as the track dries up, if it already isn't already. We've actually got black clouds still swarming here over Japan. Surely we're not going to see a revisit of the wet weather conditions as they come around the next right into Dunlop now. Lucas UK going quickest again, trying to break away from the Flying Dutchman, Jarno Watmir. That gap is now out to a second now, albeit brought back into 9/10, as we now see them run around the second Degner, leading up towards the hairpin bend. Barry Burman leading the charge, half a second. The delta gap in between him and James Baldwin. In behind, Tomek Paradzik in P3, Ruben Vallejo in P4, Sven Noller P5, Daniel Haddad in P6, and albeit 1.6 seconds behind the Racing Point, doing well though. A grandiose recovery after a very difficult start here for Daniel Haddad as they come through that left-hander, that swinging Spoon curve. And Sven Noller still in P5, but Daniel Haddad showing some real good pace here on those mediums, still maintaining a solid gap in between him and Sven Noller. So as those mediums become more effective and the softs start to wear off, you will start to see Daniele actually probing potentially the back of that Ferrari. Matthias Colligon is not far behind either, albeit he has a penalty too, so he's effectively out of the running in this position for a podium spot. Barry Burman, of course, has got a penalty as well, now listed. I cannot believe what I've just seen there. In fact, it's literally popped up in the last few moments. Of course, we were looking at battles across the circuit. Barry Burman still in front, but the delta time now within 2/10, and James Baldwin can now smell blood here in the water. The shark-infested waters littered with McLarens and Red Bulls, and of course a Williams of Ruben Vallejo, who's joined the fray as well as they round Dunlop. Barry Burman in P1, James Baldwin in P2, Paradzik in P3, Ruben Vallejo in P4, Sven Noller in P5, Daniel Haddad as well in P6, Matthias Colligon in P7, Danny Moreno as well in P8, Nicholas Matteo P9 in the top 10 for the Alfa Romeo team. But just look how close that James Baldwin is to the back. We've got a safety car here as Donoso has DNF'd out of this race. That's both Renaults out of contention. And after providing us with certainly some eye-catching moments in qualifying, it remains to be seen as to what happened to that team. They are now out of the race. There's penalties applied all across the circuit as well. It's going to provide a real jumbled up view towards the end of this race. with the penalties accrued alone, Jarno could yet get into the top 10. And that will certainly be a great result for him as they come up towards the next left-hander. Barry Burrowman now coaxing his way through the next left, being closed down by James Baldwin as they reach round towards the next right-hander. Tomek Paratic in P3 as well in close pursuit. With the safety car being out, it's going to allow them to bunch. And I've got to say, may give renewed hope to the likes of certainly Ben Zabo, maybe Jarno Oppier as well. Those who haven't got penalties, that's for sure. And because as the grid tightens up, it becomes so thin in terms of delta times accrued in between them. It will allow those within a chance of a P1 spot or indeed a podium to actually snatch it at the death here. And certainly with literally only 4 laps remaining, it's going to be absolutely intriguing to see as to how they manage it here. Ruben Vallejo, you can see there in P4, half a second back to Tomek Paradzic. James Baldwin there in P2, Barry Burrowman P1. And I've got to say, just look at the safety car there. And very soon he'll be leading around this string of cars. Certainly Barry can be pleased with his performance so far. He's managed to, obviously after that difficult start where he started on pole, Longe of course picked up the crumbs and pretty much flew. But Barry Burrowman at this stage in P1 in this Japanese Grand Prix. Very happy to be where he is, that's for sure, in behind James Baldwin. Tomek Paradzic in P3 as well, in behind Ruben Vallejo. Sven Noller as well in P5. Just look how many cars there are littered across this circuit. The delta times so fine in between them now, thinner than a fly's eyelash, that's for sure. As they head around the next bend, of course being 200R. And this Mercedes safety car will have the job of making sure that these cars stay in line and obviously maintain the delta pace, of course, that's obviously required to be safe. Not quite sure how strenuous the damage was to Donoso's car. It must have been something severe, given the fact that we've got the safety car out on track to begin with. As in behind you see the cars warming up the tyres there. James Baldwin in with a chance, of course. He's been so close to getting race glory here in ORL in the past. And once again, he's searching for it here in Japan. If he can pounce on Barry Burrowman, get the restart just right, then maybe he'll have his chance. Tomek Paradzic as well, after losing out in France. He'll have his own chance as well to claim a P1 spot. So potential here for a new winner here today. Judging on how, or depending, shall I say, on how this restart occurs. Obviously the safety car will be out, I'd imagine, for at least one more lap. As you see the cars now warming up those tyres. It's so vital that you keep the brakes and the tyres warm. Obviously nothing worse than cold tyres. I'm pretty sure TRL Limitless will be able to tell you all about that as they head their way round the next right-hander. And Barry Burrowman still in P1. James Baldwin P2. Paradzic in P3. Ruben Vallejo P4, Sven Noller in P5, Danny Moreno in P6, Matteo in P7, Daniel Iadad in P8, still in the mix. And maybe he can get something done as well. As we've seen in safety cars, things can certainly be whittled around and certainly jumbled up. When it comes to classifications, it can certainly damage the prospects of many, but improve those of a few, that's for sure. And Barry Burrowman now leading them up towards the Dagners behind the safety car on the medium tyres. 1 lap fresher than that of James Baldwin and Tomek Paradzic. That won't cause too much of an issue. 3 laps remaining in this race, this Japanese Grand Prix. Brought to you by HyperX, of course, here at ORL. Please don't forget to check out HyperX, our famed sponsor here at this league, as they make their way around the hairpin bend on the outset towards the 200R. And still Barry Burrowman leads the way in behind James Baldwin, closely followed by Tomek Paradzic. Ruben Vallejo there too. Sven Noller in with a chance as well. Just what would it mean to Sven Noller if he can try and crack something out here, certainly given the fact he's on soft tyres. But how long can he last on them? That's the question. I'd imagine under the safety car they've managed to retain a lot of the grip and reduce a lot of the wear. So don't be surprised if those soft tyres are going to be absolutely stunning at the start of this restart after the safety car as they make their way around the next left-hander. This being the 130R yet again, and indeed you just see the safety car coming up now towards the next chicane. Surely it will not be going around for one last lap, will it? It could yet, you know. We haven't seen a notification to say that it's coming back in. But and they're not crowding up just yet either. So one more lap, it looks like, on the cards here for Barry Burrowman. We're riding on board with him, and indeed it is. One more lap under the safety car. Barry Burrowman P1. and James Baldwin in P2. It's going to be literally last lap wonders here at Japan. The Oriental Circuit is going to be facing some real interesting battles on this circuit. Tomek in the mix as well. Jarno Watmir further down, maybe a top 10 for Jarno Watmir. Any points possible for Sauber will go a long way here today. Barry Burraman going around the next right. In behind him, Veloce James Baldwin, as well as Tomek Paradžić, Ruben Vallejo in P4. And you've got Sven Noller as well in behind, as we've said before. The two soft compound drivers, watch out for them. As now they make their way up towards Dunlop. And the crowd's waiting on in anticipation here of what might be. As we now see them littering around now. Just see Barry Burman ensuring those tyres are warm. He needs them to be at optimum temperature if he is to maintain this P1 spot. And I can certainly imagine that James Baldwin is going to provide him, or try and provide him, with a few headaches here as Tomek Paradžić comes round in P3 as well. Ruben Vallejo in P4. Sven Noller looking to also upset the balance of this race. Under 0.5 of a second, the delta time, of course. They're all going to be so bunched up here, heading out towards the restart. Hopefully we don't see a repeat of Mugello, folks. Hopefully the cars will be respectful of the safety car when they restart here today, coming out round the 200R up towards what will be that famed spoon curve. And hopefully this time we will see the car enter the pit lane. Just rounding it there, Barry Burraman. Obviously, what this does mean as well, with the 3-second time penalties accrued, Ruben Vallejo could yet jump into the P1 spots here if he stays in contention. Sven Noller could be on for an unlikely podium as well, which would be a phenomenal effort considering that he's jumped into the Ferrari for the first time here today. Veloce Danny Moreno in P6 as well, in with a shout. It's an unbelievable situation we've landed ourselves in here. And certainly the likes of Ruben Vallejo and Sven Noller in with a likely chance. They all slow down now. This certainly looks like it's going to be the restart, as we now see Barry Burraman coming up towards the Casio Triangle chicane. And it won't be long before he sends them away for the restart of this Japanese Grand Prix. The pace starts to quicken up, and bang goes the gun as Barry Burraman heads down the stretch, knowing that James Baldwin is very much in his slipstream here. James Baldwin smells blood. The great white shark coming down towards turn 1, but Barry Burraman holds on as they come up through the snake section. Tomek Paradžić as well in behind, watching it all unfold. In behind, Sven Turner and Lucas UK go into blows as Sven takes P10. Danny Elliott round the next rounder himself, as well as the racing point, tracking Nicholas Matteo, who's in P7, giving all the points here for Alfa Romeo, at least for now, as they round the next lap, that being the Dunlop curve. Tomek Paradžić as well moving up. Sven Noller trying to whittle his way through as well, with Ruben Vallejo not too far behind that of Tomek as well, as they come up towards the hairpin bend, and still Danny Moreno in front, at least for the time being. Veloce James Baldwin parked in behind the McLaren, looking for his first P1 spot, but indeed it's going to be all up for question. The penalties may have yet scuppered the chances of all those in the top 3 at this moment in time. Ruben Vallejo could be your surprise winner come the end of this Grand Prix. Sven Noller in behind as well, may be likely to get a P2 or a P3 here. Danny Moreno an outside chance as well, as they power down round towards what will be the 130R. This swinging left-hander as well, that takes so tight for an easier entrance into the Casio Triangle chicane. Ruben Vallejo in P4, chasing after Tomek Paradžić as they come out of that Casio Triangle chicane. Again, James Baldwin smelling blood once again, but Barry Burraman setting the fastest lap of the race with a 127.8, and he needs to do that if he wants to maintain this P1 spot. James Baldwin in P2, Tomek Paradžić P3 as they make their way around the first corner. Ruben Vallejo getting closer. Sven Zerner overtakes Nicholas Matteo for that P7, coming up through the snake section, and so the Sauber Esports team demoted down to P8. Lucas UK P9 in for a top 10 finish, which would be phenomenal for Lucas UK, but he's got pressure indeed from Matthias Collegon as well. And as we look further up, Tomek Paradžić still trying to close the gap as they round the Degners here. James Baldwin in P2. It's the last lap here of the Japanese Grand Prix. Barry Burraman still on top. In behind, you can see Ruben Vallejo still within that key delta gap. Ruben might well have netted a worldie here today as they round the next right-hander. The 200R beckons. Barry Burman still in front. Veloce James in P2. Tomek Peradzik in P3. Ruben Vallejo in P4. Could he get to P1? An unlikely P1 for Ruben here today, potentially on the cards as they come down the stretch now, leading towards the 130R once again for the final time. Barry Burman still in charge here. In line, Veloce James Baldwin. Tomek Peradzik as well following them through as they come down towards that fame corner. It's still Ruben Vallejo in with a chance here. He comes across through the chicane. Barry Burman as well. Danny Moreno nets it through from Sven Zuna as well. Just blocks him up. But Ruben is your winner of the Japanese Grand Prix. Unbelievable scenes here at Suzuka. Amazing. Barry Burman holds on for P2. Sven Noller gets his podium. A P3 for the Ferrari man. Danny Moreno out to P4. Tomek relegated after the penalty to P5. James Baldwin down to P6. Nicholas Matteo in P7 gets promoted back up to that P7 spot, gets some points for Sauber. Lucas UK in P8, Ben Zabo in P9 as well. Veloce Hayes, Matthias Collegon P10, Sven Zerner in P11. Alessio Di Campo and Jana Watmir finishing outside the top 10 here today. Obviously the strategies were a little bit mixed up. Drivers opting for various different strategies indeed, and it certainly paid off for Ruben here today. Michael Romanides down in P14. It just did not happen for him either. Corny as well. Bianca Lila in P16. Nali Perez P17. Daniel Haddad P18. Of course, we lost the two Renault drivers. But Ruben Vallejo, what a drive. A win. He has claimed podiums this season, but has come here today. He's always wanted a victory. He must be absolutely delighted with that performance. And I cannot imagine the smile, the big grin across the face of that Spaniard. He has done himself justice. He's come here today and won the Japanese Grand Prix. What a phenomenal victory. And I got to say, I hope you all enjoyed that in the live chat, because I certainly did. And what a phenomenal encounter. Unbelievable. I'm literally scenes here. Barry Burman, though, collecting P2. Good points for Mercedes nonetheless, but you would have expected more. Certainly considering the fact that he was on pole position at the start of the race. Sven Noller, though, as well. Another amazing podium finish. And Ferrari do get some points on the board. Some really good points, in fact. And if you look at the stats there, in fact, you got the top two of the top three teams there on the podium sectors. You now see Sven Noller rounding the final corner in P3. Great work indeed from him. And driver of the day indeed goes to Sven Noller. Superb work from him indeed. As we get a disconnection again for the final time. Definitely going to have to check the lead out on this. But very jubilant Ruben Vallejo. He's your victor here for Williams in this Japanese Grand Prix. Unbelievable. And he will celebrate with his teammates, I am sure. We'll just go through the final classifications for this extraordinary race. Ruben Vallejo is your winner for Williams here. Grid on the night. He was on 9th on the grid after qualifying, but secured a victory nonetheless. Barry Burman P2 for Mercedes. Sven Noller P3 for the Ferrari team. Danny Moreno P4. Tomek Peradzik in P5. James Baldwin in P6. Nicholas Matteo P7. Lucas UK P8. P9 goes to Ben Zabo. P10 for Matthias Collegon. Sven Zerner P11. Alessio Di Capua P12. P13 for the Flying Dutchman. Jana Watmir just wasn't enough to get into the top 10 today. Michael Romanides P14. VSR Corny P15. And Bianca Lila P16. Falconardi P17. Daniele Haddad P18. And finishing in the DNF spots, of course, Fabrizio Donoso and Nicholas Longe. Just did not go to plan for him there today. But what an incredible race here, folks. We were treated to certainly some high-octane racing. And it's just what we've come to expect here at ORL. I've loved every minute of it. And it certainly has been something special. And hopefully we can witness more of that in the races to come as we come towards the latter stages of the season. But credit to all the drivers who performed out there today. Sven Zerner has joined me in the chat. I'm going to see if I can get this, certainly the mic system working, because of course we lost Jack earlier on. Not sure what happened to the Discord there for you folks. Just was not ideal whatsoever. But can you hear me at all there, Sven? I'll try and rejoin. Won't be a sec. Won't be a sec, guys. Will not be a sec. Will not be a sec, folks. Do bear with me. We've been having some fun today with the sound settings. I'm not sure quite what's happened, all in all, but certainly seems a bit strange. I will be right back with the Discord now. Surely we will chat to the drivers in the interview room. Obviously, I hope you all enjoyed that race. It was really something special. And fair play to Ruben Vallejo on getting that P1 win. And Jarno getting the job done, at least holding on. The strategies were all mixed up there indeed. Barry did all he could to get that podium spot. But what a phenomenal race indeed. As we now look to rejoin. Hopefully we'll get some view on the caster booth. Can you guys hear me at all? Still, we're struggling to get a view on this. Do apologise, guys. Just looking to see if I can fix this. See if I can get it coming through my speakers. Won't be a sec, folks. The wonders of technology indeed. Hopefully we can get some answers for you very shortly. And got to say, it's been a superb race. Certainly a very, very good race indeed. As we'll wait an interview with the drivers very shortly indeed. Will not be long, folks. Some very strange things happening with this sound system. Discord not being friendly with us here today. Do bear with me, folks. I do love technology sometimes. Gives us nothing but good fun, that's for sure. Obviously apologise for the issues with the sound earlier on. Of course, we lost Jack as well, which was a big shame. Not ideal whatsoever. Do bear with me. Do subscribe as well, folks, and like the video as well if you've enjoyed the session. It's been really, really good fun. Certainly, like I said, good racing. And that's what we've come to expect here from the ORL team. It certainly has been a splendid season so far. And we've very much enjoyed certainly the battles that we've had on track. Certainly, it's been enthralling. And that's exactly what we've been hoping for. As I do have some volume coming through now. So we do have something. We've had to reset everything on the Discord side of things. We will have an interview very shortly. I hope everyone's good, though. Keeping well in the chat as we now look through. Won't be long now, folks. And okay, let's have a quick look here. Let's give this a go. Right, can you hear me, guys?
Hello.
Yes,
Hello. Yes, finally.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes, guys. So we've got a mountain of interviews to go through here today. We've got some real juggernauts in this chat. I think we'll start with Sven Zerner because I did say I'd start with you, Sven. Obviously, an interesting race. Nonetheless, phenomenal race in Japan. Just talk us through it because obviously you were battling in the midfield. At one point, you were on top in qualifying. Just talk us through that one. That was madness.
Yeah, first time I practiced for a race, and first try I fucked up the quali.
That's one way to do it. That's certainly one way to do it. But
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you look so fast in quali because you were on P1. I was looking at the delta times coming through, and you were an absolute magician through the first sector, bombing through the snake section. I mean, just talk us through that. Are you happy on a track like Japan? Is that one of your proven and preferred circuits?
No, not at all. I had big problems with Sector 1. I nailed it in my quali, but fucked up Sector 3 at Sector 2 and Sector 3, so lost it all again and was out of the 24th. But I had a good race start from P6 up to P2. Then Nicholas did a mistake, so I earned P1. So I had the win in my hands already, but fucked it up with the strategy. Yeah.
Well, it was absolutely phenomenal racing indeed, and we were treated to certainly some incredible action. I mean, just talk us through those battles in the middle sector. They were so intriguing because I saw you in mid pack. You were battling, and certainly when the rain was coming down, and then all of a sudden stopped. It seemed to, I think, change the perspectives of a lot of the drivers and certainly mix things up in terms of the classification. It was quite unfortunate to see. I think a few people actually suffering out there. Would you certainly agree with that, or?
Yeah, the stop was way too early, so all the guys around me were doing the same mistake. 2 or 3 was doing did stop a lap later, so they end up in front of me. But I could catch up them all, and yeah, then the safety car came, and I tried the best, but I pushed too hard before and gained 6 seconds of penalties, so P5 was lost again.
Well, it was very unfortunate, but you got there close, and certainly if you have that pace like you had in quali, I'm sure we'll see you battling at the top end again. Well done, Sven, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week, I hope. You're going to be joining us again next week?
Not sure, we will see, but was a lot of fun. Thank you all, guys. All to the drivers, good job, and yeah, we will see us.
Superb job. Well done, Sven. We'll move on to the victor now, Ruben Vallejo. Ruben, I cannot imagine how you're feeling right now, but I mean, we spoke about podiums before. You said, if I keep fighting and scrapping, I might eventually get that podium spot. But you've managed to do a lot better than that. You've secured a victory. You must be beaming, very much like Sergio Perez right now.
Yeah, super happy. I mean, didn't expect it, that to be honest.
No, it was absolutely phenomenal. It was a huge effort from yourself. And did you ever think at one stage that you would get the P1 spot? Because obviously the penalties were being distributed at the top end. It certainly looked like Barry Burremand had the race sewn up at that time because, of course, unfortunately for James and those behind him, a few of them had accrued penalties, which was obviously devastating for their prospects at the race win. But you seem to benefit from it towards the end, obviously, given the fact that then Barry picked up a penalty. Because, of course, Japan is real tricky, isn't it? But, just talk us through that. Did you have that in your mind? Did you think you had a chance?
Yeah, I think I was P7 or P8 before the pit stops. So I have a strong point. I will say that I have managed the tire wear very good. So I didn't tire wear the Inter too much. So when I see the Inter guys pitted and put softs or mediums, and they were like 5 or 6 seconds slower, I know that I could be on the podium or on the top places. But yeah, I know Barry will pit it in that lap, so I made an overcut, but didn't work. Michael pitted the lap before, so I was 4 or 5 seconds more in the pit. So yeah, in safety car, I saw Barry has 3-second penalty. So yeah, it was like too nervous, but just finish the race because I know I have no warnings. So yeah, it just my objective was crosses the line and try to be as much close as Barry and as I can.
Yeah, because I've got to say, you're so consistent in the car, and we say it week in, week out, that you're always challenging for those podium spots. You don't get yourself into too much trouble. You keep it consistent, and you almost keep your way at the field. You're almost the unsuspecting car on the grid that seems to find itself on the end of a good, on the end of a good position at the end of the race. I mean, just talk us through Japan as well. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Sven. Your thoughts on Japan? Is that one of your favourite circuits, or is it one that you tend to find you need to put a little bit of extra work into as such?
To be honest with you, I hate Japan, to be really bad. Yeah, I had a strong pace, so I know quali will be difficult. Also, there are esports drivers that are going to be slower on the quali because of esports next week. So yeah, I have qualifying P9. I know that I have a very good opportunity to be on top 6, top 7, but not obviously on the first place. So yeah, I'm very happy because I didn't expect, to be honest with you. But yeah, very happy with the race. More in Japan because I repeat, I hate Japan. So yeah, super happy.
No, it was a splendid result, certainly for yourself, Ruben. And got to say, delighted. It's a Cinderella story here in ORL. So very much congratulations. We'll look forward to seeing you next week. Hopefully you can do it again.
Yeah, I will try, but it's going to be difficult for sure.
Good man. Congratulations, Ruben.
Yeah, thanks.
Well done. We'll make a change of pace now. Let's go to James Baldwin, of course, in the chat. James, how are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Oh, bearing up. A very interesting race. A little bit different, I think, to say the least. We've obviously gone from one wet race in Russia to one now here in Japan, and certainly the strategy's torn apart. I think, of course. Naturally, I know obviously your commitments to McLaren, obviously going into the esports race, but you were so close in your quest to get a P1 spot. Obviously, luck seemed to pass you by yet again today, James.
Yeah, I've had a few weeks away from ORL, but it was a really fun race. Obviously got F1 Esports coming up, the final event with McLaren Shadow. But yeah, today decent quali, fun race, changeable conditions. I love that kind of stuff. I had quite an unlucky penalty where it gave me a penalty straight off the bat, no warnings, which was a little bit of a glitch, quite annoying. But really, really fun to fight at the front, and hopefully I can be in ORL, maybe next week.
Yeah, it would be superb to see you. I mean, to be fair, I think you drove impeccably. You win with a chance. Obviously, if you didn't have the penalty, it certainly would have been yourself and Barry to the finish. Of course, if Barry didn't pick his up, because he had his late on. Obviously, just want to talk to you as well about practice preparation. Of course, you've been away over the last few weeks. We haven't yet seen you. Obviously, McLaren busy in the esports realm. Just how's things going? Everything positive and feeling good going into the last event?
Yeah, everything positive. My last event was pretty dreadful, not going to lie. I think, yeah, just lack of practice because of the real life commitments, but I've not got that excuse anymore. So, yeah, I'm looking forward for the final round. I think we look as strong as we've looked at any round. So, yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah, we definitely got the moxie to do it, and you've been up there for dancing, that's for sure. Also want to talk to you about your GT3 season. Obviously, your first one under its belt now. How did you enjoy that? It's obviously your first proper, I suppose, real big-time racing season in GT. And just talk us through it. How was that experience for you?
Oh, it was mega. It's not related to this at all. It's with a completely different, party and World's Fastest Gamer, but it was an amazing experience, once in a lifetime stuff. But it's over now. Whether I do it again is yet to be seen. But all my focus for the end of the year and the start of next year pretty much is in the esports sector. So yeah, it was great fun, mate, and I was very lucky to do it.
Well, you've done yourself credit, James. Certainly a man who can fight on track on many different aspects, not just esports, but real life, deserves all the credit in the world. So, well done here today. Yeah, and we'll look forward to seeing you.
Thanks.
Yeah, we'll look forward to seeing where your career goes in the future now. We look forward to seeing you in esports. But unlucky today, but I'm sure we'll look on with bated breath. Best of luck going into the final event.
Cheers, Gio.
Yeah, thank you, James. Take care, buddy.
Bye.
Bye. We'll move on now to Speed Barry. Barry, how you doing, my man?
Hello everyone. Yeah, to be honest, not bad at all. Yeah, how are you?
Oh, living the dream, Bar. But living the dream, doing my best. Yeah, obviously, we've had a little bit of fun today, certainly with the weather. Lots of fun, in fact, on this broadcast here tonight. We had some fun with the sound here in the comms booth. So we had our own challenges, and then of course you guys had challenges on track with the wet weather. Obviously not ideal for you. We did see Brendan Lee was in the live chat observing what was going on track. How were your thoughts into that race? Obviously didn't go quite to plan. You were on pole position, but just couldn't cut it towards the end. Just talk us about that start as well, because you seemed to sacrifice a little bit of time to Longe, who seemed to steal it at the early stage. What happened? What happened there?
Yeah, first of all, I should say I got a delay start. I had it for so many times, so it's simple for me for now. And then just moved to the quali lab. I did some mistakes, but as you know, every esport driver not gonna show the real pace. And yeah, and in the race, I really got 2 warnings for one, so I think it will remove. So I think I will get the win, hopefully. And yeah, I will report that because I went one time white, and then the game gave me 2 warnings for that. And the setup doesn't feel really good in the condition that it's so tricky to drive, especially in the wet. That wasn't really too bad, but in the dry tire on a wet condition, it wasn't really ideal. And to be honest, I'm not really best at that condition. So as we saw Russia, so yeah, I need to really work on it. But after the safety car, the pace was good. I really managed to not get any warning to really report that 2 warning for 1, and I think it will remove.
Yeah, well, we'll soon see what happens there. An interesting perspective there. Obviously, it's very tough. Obviously, Japan, given hard it is, very testing. You did very well to get the P1 in quali, obviously to stick you on pole. Like we said, obviously a few trials during the race. Was there ever a point during the race that you felt that you were going to be in trouble? Because the strategy seemed to be very tricky out there. Lots of cars opting to pit early onto the mediums. I think that was what actually caused the deficit, I think, in the end. Do you believe that's what really confirmed your spot on the podium? Was that was the fact that a lot of the top-end drivers pitted a lot earlier than maybe they should have?
Like I was already third, but I was really seeing like the weather is rainy, and I really shocked when they pitted, and then I continue till the engineer told me you should pit. So I didn't do really nothing special, but the thing is, yeah, I think maybe P1 was a little bit hard because of the DRS train and this track overtake gonna be so hard. But I think it's still my dry pace was pretty good in the race and quali, but my wet pace, in my opinion, wasn't really ideal, even like dry on wet. So yeah, just that is the race, and yeah, and really frustrating when the game gave me 2 warning for 1 corner actually.
Yeah, big struggle, but yeah, to be fair, I mean the racing was really thrilling. We had lots of battles out on track, which was splendid to see. I just want to ask as well for yourself, Barry. Of course, Mercedes Esports heading into the latter stages of the season. How confident are you feeling? Are you feeling? How's the camp? Everyone okay?
Yeah, I didn't understand. Sorry, your sound just cut off.
Oh, sorry. How's the mood in the camp at Mercedes going into the final event?
Actually, like my exams actually finish like Friday, so I start practice again on Saturday, and unfortunately I lost the practice with them. So yeah, gonna back tomorrow probably.
Well done. Well, we'll look forward to seeing how the team gets on towards the end of the Pro Series. But Barry, unlucky on not securing the P1 on track just yet. Obviously, we'll see what happens. But congratulations on a good effort nonetheless.
Yeah, thank you so much, and congrats to everyone, and GG.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
And you, Barry. Take care, mate. Take care.
Thank
Next
you,
up.
buddy.
Yeah, next year. Next up, should we interview next? Sven Noller we'll start off with next. Sven, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, thanks. How are you?
Oh, well, chipper, should we say. You must be absolutely delighted. You've been certainly one of the taskmasters in ORL this season, certainly battling your way through a very, very hench lineup. But you've come here today and got yourself a podium on P3. Just talk us through it. You must be absolutely delighted.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very happy with that P3, but as Speedberry said, it's like a provisional P3, so we will see if I can keep it. But yeah, anyway, after that qualifying, I'm very happy to go through the field like that and to absolutely nail the strategy. So yeah, it was especially hard at the first stint because it was very hard to overtake in the WOD. So yeah, I had to be patient, and I just watched for my tires and also tried to not get any warnings. But yeah, that strategy mistakes from the other drivers really helped me to get that place.
Yeah, well, it certainly seemed to me that towards the end, yourself and, of course, Ruben, you opted for the soft tyres towards the end, and that sort of set the tone, I think, towards the end of the race, because you guys had plenty of wear on it. Obviously, the safety car came out. You weren't using too much of the tyres towards the end. Just how crucial was that stop onto those softs? Because it definitely set you apart from the other drivers on track, didn't it?
Yeah, it was a very good decision, especially at the beginning. But I feel like after the safety car, for the last 3 laps, I think my tires, the soft and the medium tires, were pretty much even in terms of pace. So I didn't feel like I have a big advantage. But yeah, I just tried to push in these last 3 laps to stay within the 3 seconds of Barry. But yeah, I just didn't make it with like 1/10 or something.
Well, absolutely superb. And I believe as well, you actually managed to qualify for the Challenger Series. Am I correct?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, how do you feel about that? That's a huge statement for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Like I qualified for the Challenger Series last year on PS4, and to do it this year on PC is like the next step, and it's really a challenge I'm looking forward to. So yeah, also like a few names who also qualified for the Challenger Series are also racing here in ORL. So yeah, I'm very happy to be here and also to be qualified for the Challenger Series.
Well, I got to say we're very lucky in ORL to have the class of drivers that we do have, including yourself, Sven, and we look forward to seeing your rapid rise carry on through the season as well. So congratulations on the current podium. Obviously, we'll see where it goes, but well done anyway, and we'll look forward to seeing you again very soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sven. Thank you. We'll move on to Tomek Paradzik, of course, the man in the Red Bull here today. Tomek, a very interesting race for you. You got caught up right in the midst of it, battling for that top spot. Obviously, the conditions weren't ideal, but you seem to scrape together at least a half-decent performance there. It was really tough, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a tough race. In the qualifying, I made the decision to go for a mostly wet setup since I knew that most likely the majority of the race will be done in wet conditions, which resulted in a bad starting position because I started down in P15 after what felt like a good lap, so the setup definitely wasn't optimal. But then made a good start, gained a couple positions quite early, and then thanks to the fact I was in voiced out with a couple of drivers when they pitted early onto mediums, they said the grip is nowhere. So I just took my time, waited until I see that the inters start to go off because they were fine throughout the 5-6 laps that people were already pitting for mediums. And this way I got myself into P3 in the race. But just very unfortunate with the penalty that I got, because without it, I would be the race winner. Got it in a really dumb way. Was just, testing the grip at the start of the race on the intermediates, went wide a couple times, and it's just that easy to get a penalty. So still really happy to convert P15 to a P5 because it's a good result, and I didn't have the advantage of starting on a different strategy than everyone else outside the top 10. So I think it's even more impressive this way. But yeah, 10 points after making this is my comeback after a couple of weeks of a break. I had to just charge my batteries back and come back. So knowing that I could have won this race if I just didn't get a penalty, it's definitely a good boost of motivation for the future races.
Yeah, absolutely. I think certainly you're one of the most unluckiest men I think we've had this season. I still look back to your French GP where you looked like you were dead set for the win, and that puncture came across. Once again, you were battling it out for the podium spots, and very nearly, obviously, part of the contingent challenging for the race win. It's good to see, and obviously encouraging for yourself that you've got the pace to challenge at the top end, and I'd imagine it gives you a lot of confidence.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like a win was on the table a couple times. It's just the combination of bad luck and just me not taking advantage of some of the opportunities I get. In France, of course, it wasn't dependent on me, but there were definitely races in which the win was there. I just didn't do a good enough of a job to take the opportunity. So, I mean, we still have a couple races, and I think if I put my stuff together, if I can say it like that, then I can still take this win. Because if I went for a fully dry setup today, I think in qualifying I was gonna be up there. Not sure about the race. So yeah, raw pace seems to be there, and considering I'm not, putting as much practice as I probably should yet, it's really encouraging to see that the pace is there. And I feel like if it's not this season, it might be next that I finally take this win, because I feel like I got very close on a couple of times, and I'm definitely getting hungrier and hungrier for the win.
Yeah, well, you certainly did deserve it. You worked so hard to challenge, and you've done so well all season. And I'd imagine that win is only around the corner, Tomek. But obviously, look forward to seeing that with bated breath. Obviously, your prospects going into esports yourself. I mean, obviously, you certainly seem to be a man on the rise. Do you have any plans yourself in going into professional esports as well? Because you certainly seem to be in line for a move that way.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, the age limits are, of course, a thing. I'm still 15, and realistically, I have no idea what's going to happen next year. I'm still not sure if I will be able to take part or not. So what I'm trying right now is just to show my my absolute best, do my absolute best in ORL and other leagues, and just try to show not only McLaren but also other teams that I have this something, and if if I get picked up for next year, that's great. But I can't rely on it yet because it's a very close call with my birthday and the age limit. And yeah, I'm still not sure how it's gonna look like next year, but I'm definitely trying my best to put myself in a position where if I can do next year, someone's gonna pick me up.
Yeah, well, I got to say, you richly deserve it, and as long as you carry on the same vein of form, I'm sure it will only be around the corner. But no, well done again, Tomek, and like I say, we'll look forward to seeing you once again back here in ORL. Well done.
Thank you.
Last but not least, Alessio Di Capua, the Ferrari man, back with us here. And hello, Mr. Italiano, how you doing?
Man, I'm not so well. I'm so after these two bad races, but yeah, for the rest, it's quite okay. How are you?
Oh, I'm not too bad, yes. Living the dream, living the dream. I like how the drivers are asking me how I'm doing. It's really, really polite. Thank you very much. But yeah, no, obviously a difficult race for you out there today. The strategy was pretty much torn apart. The wet weather was not helpful, was it? I don't think. Certainly to the way you were looking to race.
Yeah, but the major problem is that in this race, the pace I had it in the qualifying and in the race. In training, I managed to make 1.24.8 or and as the best 0.7. And yeah, the pace for fight to the pole, I had it, but yeah. This is very frustrating for me because it's the second qualifying that I completely throw away. Yeah, after the first fast lap, it seemed that there were the ingredients for redeeming the bad qualifying of Russian. Where yeah, also in Russian I had the pace, but yeah, instead I don't know what's happened. I don't know. And after the qualifying, I was really annoyed. I was really angry because yeah, I didn't know that I'm not. Yeah, I wasn't ahead like the previous race, and yeah, in the race I didn't manage to accept the P10, and at the start I wanted to gain yeah, to gain in a few laps some position, but yeah, another mistake, and I tried to recover, yeah, to recovering, but yeah, it was almost useless. I didn't expect for the rain that was yeah, the track was raining for a lot of time, and yeah, I pitted too early for slick tires, and when exit the safety car, maybe I see an opportunity for at least a couple of points, but no. I overtake the Alpha Tauri, and then yeah, a racing point span in the hairpin of Japan, and I took the racing point and broke the flap, the right flap, and yeah. I don't know what to say. I don't know because yeah, after these two races, I yeah, am also a little bit afraid to make mistake also for the challenger for the sports, and yeah, this is not so good. I really hope that this week will pass quickly, because yeah, I want to redeem because yeah, like this if it's not good for nothing.
No, I can totally understand that. But obviously, great news to hear that you've qualified for the Challenger Series, of course. And again, a huge name to add to the list. Certainly you're a quick guy, and we'll look forward to seeing it. Obviously, a race winning here today, and I think you've summed up pretty much that race well for yourself. Obviously, didn't go to plan, as you say. But just quickly from me, are you looking forward to the Challenger Series? I'd imagine you are.
Are you looking for?
Are you
Repeat a
excited
little.
for the challenge?
Sorry.
Are you excited for the Challenger Series?
Yeah, I'm excited. I hoping. I only hoping to not make this mistake because I otherwise I not go on nowhere, and I stay at home. These two qualifying for me are so difficult to to accept because I didn't manage to show my strongest my strongest my strongest part of the race of a race league, that is the qualifying, the qualifying lap, and this is very frustrating for me.
Yeah, no, I can imagine, and but to be fair, I'm sure we'll see you bounce back, Alessio, and look forward to seeing more from you. Unlucky today, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Next week there is USA. Also, in the track, I was the feeling it's very good, but the cutting corners are so easily to take, and I don't know what to expect.
No.
I don't know.
But it'll be exciting nonetheless, and we'll look forward to seeing you then. But have a good one, and take care, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thank you, Alessio. Thank you ever so much. But guys, that's it. Another great race pulled to an end, of course. Unfortunately, Jack, we lost him midway through the stream. Not sure what happened with the sound here today. Obviously, do apologise for that. But it looks like we managed to get the race pretty much in a nutshell there. A phenomenal effort from Ruben Vallejo to take the preliminary P1 spot. Of course, subject to Barry Burraman's footage that he says he's going to declare. But what a phenomenal race, folks. I hope you all enjoyed it at home as well. It's been an absolute pleasure calling the race for you once again. And I look forward to bringing you the next one. Obviously, the USA around the corner. Look forward to bringing it to you from the Circuit of the Americas. It's going to be an absolute clinic of a race. Obviously, join us back next week there on Sunday. That's, of course, at 7:30. The stream will go live. That's UK time, folks. So do join us for that. Not forgetting as well, on Thursdays we do host social races, and they are streamed as well. I will be commentating alongside Black Panther for that event. Then, of course, we move on to Saturday. And Saturday, of course, is when we have the ORL warm-up podcast. And, of course, we just recently came off the back of interviewing the great Williams driver Alvaro Carreton, and talking about his season and his growing and his upbringing, should we say, in Spain, and how he's managed to cultivate his way up through the esports, ranks, should we say. Certainly a very nice guy, and very interesting to listen to as well. We've also got another one on there from James Doherty as well, TRL Limitless, who you've seen in the chat here today. Great human being and a true professional, and always excellent to talk to indeed. But guys, if you haven't done so already, please leave a like and a subscribe as well to the ORL channel. It's been a pleasure to bring you this racing here tonight. I've been George Morgan. Don't forget as well to check out HyperX for all your wireless and headphones or anything to do with technology needs with regards to your PC. But from me, CRGGO, we'll see you next time. Goodbye.